Justin,
Yeah.
first time doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous. We're just having a conversation.
Right on. Yeah, I'm ready for it.
We don't know each other from shit besides meeting each other one time in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
We followed each other on Instagram and happened to run each other in a parking lot.
Yeah. Chalice, Idaho is a great place to meet folks.
You're right. That place has the best smoothies or milkshakes on the planet, which they did away with their real ice cream. I think they brought them back. But, Justin, why don't you give me a little intro about yourself and where you're from, and we're just going to jump right into it.
Right on, man. Yeah. My name is Justin Peterson. I grew up here in Idaho, New Plymouth, home of the Pilgrims.
What is New Plymouth like?
Oh, man, it's a great place to grow up.
Yeah?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, like I graduated 56 people, I think.
Damn, got me beat.
Everybody knew each other. Playing sports was a good time. You didn't have to be that good to be good.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, everybody was on the team.
Yeah, the town shut down. You know, I mean, it's literally like a good old American movie that you see.
Yep.
You know,
Friday Night Lights.
Shut down for the game. Gonna go watch the boys. So that was a good time. I still have some good buddies from there that I keep in touch with. A lot of us went into the military after high school. Pretty stereotypical of a small town.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, live here in Kuna, Idaho now.
Living life, huh?
Yeah.
Doing some pretty cool things. So, throughout high school, you ended up joining the military.
Yeah, it took me a little bit. I got out of high school in 2009.
Okay.
And I immediately started working for the Forest Service, fighting fires.
Okay.
So
I have so much respect for especially these wildlands guys that are.
Yeah.
To me, this is it's the craziest job.
Yeah.
Let's get into this. What made you want to go and fight fires?
I had some family that was doing it, and
Okay.
they're still doing it. My now brother-in-law was doing it, and I grew up in a military family. You know, at the time, you know, my older brother was in the Air Force. My dad retired from the Guard here in Boise,
Okay.
and so I grew up like that, right? You eat now, you don't eat at all.
Yep.
That type of stuff, and you know, don't go to college, join the military. They'll take care of you.
Yeah. Right.
It wasn't super on my radar when I was getting out of high school. I got a taste of the wildfire gig just through people that I knew, and I was like, oh, that sounds badass, man. I want to do that. Like, I don't want to leave Idaho.
Yeah.
If I join the military, I'm going to somewhere. And the story will come around about not wanting to leave Idaho here shortly. So I started fighting fire. Loved it, man. I was 18, 19, 20 years old, fighting fire all summer, dicking off all winter. Do it again. I was like, I was working at JCPenney in the children's department during the off season.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's what's crazy about the firefighters. I mean, they're just working normal jobs in the off season, waiting for
Totally, yeah.
the fire season.
It's changed a lot over the years
Okay.
just because of the economy. They've been keeping guys around longer and gals, and just to keep them employed, right? Because like, nobody can afford to live all winter long off what they made in the summertime anymore. But anyways, did that for a couple years. Ended up having some injuries, some head injuries.
How?
One of the fire seasons. I fell down one time, and then a snag hit me the second time.
What's a snag?
It's a burnt tree. Like we were in the burn.
And it fell over?
Weekend tree fell over and knocked me on the head.
How big of a tree?
Oh, really, it was only about 10 dBH, so it wasn't that big.
What's a dBH?
Like,
Diameter?
yeah, diameter of the tree at your breast.
Oh, okay.
Right.
See, you're speaking a foreign language. I know nothing about it. This is why I'm
standing
excited.
next to it. So anyways, as the next season come around, they were like, well, maybe, you know, you took a couple head injuries. Maybe it's not the greatest. You come back and fight fire.
Oh.
I was like, because I was just seasonal, man. I'm expendable. They don't care. You don't have any rights. So I was like, well, fuck.
What do I do now?
What do I do now? So I got a job at Applebee's.
No shit.
Yeah, man. I was working at Applebee's, and this is when the military started, like, coming into my brain. Because my little brother had gone off to the Marines.
Okay.
My older brother was continuing his Air Force career, and I was kind of just beat-bopping around Boise.
Well, you have how many siblings?
So I have 2 older sisters,
Okay.
1 younger little brother who was the Marine, 2 older stepbrothers, and a younger stepsister. So I got a pretty big family.
Okay.
And the 3 of us boys all ended up in the military.
So you had some pressure.
Yeah, and my dad. Well, what are you gonna do? You know, he's very old school, right? You can't just. Even when I was
Not Applebee's.
Yeah, even when I was like fighting fire. Well, it's just a seasonal job. What are you gonna do for retirement? I'm like 19 years old. So.
Right. You're like, what the hell's retirement?
Yeah. What is this retirement thing, man? And so I got serious about it, and I remember one night I got on the Idaho Air National Guard's website. I filled out one of those little things and Of course, you know, the next day they're just
Immediate.
like, hey man, like, what are you thinking? I was like, well, I wasn't. Is the problem?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Filling this out, I was
yeah,
not thinking.
I'll call you guys if I want. So one day I finally just said fuck it, and I went into the Air Force recruiter's office, and I just had Air Force on my mind, you know, with my dad and my older brother. My little brother was in the Marines. He digged it. So I went in there, and he's like, well, what do you want to do? What do you do? I was like, well, I'm a wildland firefighter. And he goes, oh, boy, do I got the job for you. Of course, they push, like, special forces, right? Call them battlefield airmen. He's like, well, check these guys out, man. These guys are called TAC-P. They call in airstrikes, and they do all this cool stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, like,
That sounds cool.
that sounds really cool. Like, I've called in bucket drops before on fires. Like, why can't I call in a bomb?
Right?
So he's like, well, you got to do this test. It's like a pass test or something, which is, like, just swimming and running and push-ups. And it's, like, a bare minimum, like kind of a piss poor example of what you're actually going to go through, right? Like, jump in this pool and swim a couple laps, run a mile and a half, do some pull-ups, do some sit-ups, blah, blah, blah. Cruise through that. Went back to the recruiter. He's like, okay, now we're going to take you to MEPS. So I go to MEPS, and they do all the normal duck walk shit. And all the other, but then they have some specialized stuff for different career fields.
What year was this?
This was 2012.
So when you were doing the duck walk and all the weird, were you doing it in your underwear?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
And,
so that hasn't changed?
Like super old guy doing it, too, who's probably been doing it since, like,
yes.
he probably did it for my dad.
Dude, yes, I swear it's the same guy. Everybody I talk to about MEPS, it's this creepy old man that just stares at you while you waddle around in your underwear.
And Boise's a huge MEPS. Like, I got buddies that was a recruiter down in Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
They bring their guys up here.
Oh, okay.
So, like, they're seeing them all, the buttholes, man. They all over the Northwest, man.
You're not, if you're a kid straight out of high school,
Yeah.
that's your first red flag of the prelim of how gay the military is going to be.
Dude, the military's the gayest straight dude you'll ever meet in your life.
Fuck it, that's the best way I've ever heard anybody put it.
like-
I tell people the gayest shit I've ever seen was in the military. They're
yeah,
like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just fucking gay
the
shit.
sandbox is just the gayest place ever.
So gay.
So they
And we're canceled as a
yeah,
podcast.
Exactly. So they want me to do this, like, look through for, like, testing my eyes, right? And he's like, all right, go and look in this thing and tell me what circle is closer. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, that one. Nope. Next one. That one. I felt the fuck out of it. It was a depth perception test.
Oh.
So go back to the recruiter, and he's like, well, unfortunately, you failed the depth perception test. You can't be a TAC-P anymore. What else you want to do? And this is where I kind of started to learn that the recruiters really don't give a shit what you want to do.
Zero.
Right? But they want to make you. I was like, oh, well, I'm a firefighter, so fire protection sounds pretty cool. It's kind of what I want to do for a career, whether it's on structure or wildland. And he goes, well, that's not going to work. And I was like, oh. And
Okay, then.
He goes, this would be a long time before you get a fire slot. And I was like, oh, all right. And he goes, let me tell you a little something called open general.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what's that? He's like, it gets you in the door. It gets you a ship date, and then you get a contract later for what you're gonna do. And I was kind of like, he's like, yeah, maybe a fire position's available when you get there or whatever. I was like, yeah. Okay.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Oh yeah, dude, got me good.
You weren't talking to your brothers and then like, I'm gonna go open contract.
Yeah, I mean, my little brother was in the Marines, so that he was kind of like, and then my dad was just kind of like, well, just do something that you can do on the outside. You know, like I remember he said, don't be a weapons troop. Because my dad was a flight line guy in the Air Force and avionics tech, so a good thing to have on the outside is plenty of that. Like, not a lot of people loading bombs in the civilian world.
Exactly.
Right? And so, long story short, I just shooped off to boot camp. I was like, oh, fuck it, here we go.
You joined on an open contract.
On an open contract.
God, that is Russian roulette.
Open general. I was destined to be an MP, basically.
So for anybody that doesn't know, the one thing you never do in the military, in any branch, is go open contract.
Yeah, have your way with me.
Exactly.
Put me where you need me.
Needs, and we refer to as needs of the Corps.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could be like, I'm going recon in MARSOC, and if they need a cook, you are now a cook for the next several years.
Dude, the amount of dreams that I saw get crushed in my flight when we got like our jobs.
Okay.
You know, there's one kid the whole time like, I'm gonna be a helicopter mechanic. I'm gonna work on helicopters. I can't wait. I love helicopters. I joined to work on helicopters. He ended up in CE.
What's CE?
Civil engineering. He's like he's a fucking construction worker in the Air Force.
How was Air Force boot camp?
You know, yeah, it's They're fucking pussies. It was 8.5 weeks.
Okay.
So it was the longest that it's ever been.
Yeah.
It was 6 weeks. Then it went to 8.5 weeks. Now it's back to 6 weeks.
Okay, so you caught the long stretch.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. This was 2013 by the time I went, and so some of the drill instructors were pretty hard asses. A lot of them were like Iraq, Afghanistan guys.
Okay.
So I think they, obviously, it's the stereotype. Well, back in my day,
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure it was harder then than it is now, especially with the way things are in the world.
Yep.
But it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
It was a lot more mental than anything.
Okay.
Physically, it wasn't hard at all. I think mentally it was more difficult.
Well, especially going from a wildlands firefighter to Air Force boot camp. I mean,
yeah, and the fire community is is tailored a lot towards the military.
for sure. A lot of those guys are either vets or go and join the military. I see.
Well, that too, but like when we started fighting wildfires, like a bunch of World War I veterans, World War II veterans, so
Really?
they took in a lot of that. Like there's a uniform that you wear and you walk in a straight line and you have discipline because, at some point the guy next to you, the girl next to you, their life is in your hands because you guys are all put in a mission to put out a wildfire.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's militarized by any means, loosely used term.
Militaristic.
Yeah. And so, boot camp wasn't hard. It was just long.
Any cool or crazy parts about boot camp? Air Force boot camp? How are your drill instructors or drill sergeants? What do you guys call them? Drill sergeants?
MTIs, military training instructors.
Oh, see, that's just...
Yeah, dude. I think one of the craziest things that happened when I was thought, I was like, wow, this is why we get made fun of. So we come back from chow, somebody fucks up. The MTI is like, okay, everybody get down. And they didn't make us do push-ups. They called them MTI tools. It was like, do push-ups until they tell you to stop, and then do burpees until they tell you to stop, and then do sit-ups until they tell you to stop. It's like a little drill.
Yeah.
Everybody get down, MTI tools right now. So we start doing it, and then all of a sudden he goes, shit. Everybody stop right now. Stop right now. And everybody stops, and he's like, looks at his watch. He's like, you guys just got back from chow. I can't put you guys through drills for 30 minutes after you eat. I was like, you've got to be shitting.
No.
Yeah. So he was just like caught himself. He's like, I'm going to be so fucked if they find out about this.
No shit.
Yeah.
I had to do push-ups in a dude's throw up because they slayed us so hard when we got back from chow, and the guy threw up next to me, and I was doing push-ups in it like, this is the worst shit I've ever done in my life.
In our chow hall, we had desserts, right? We didn't touch them. But I learned that you could, and they couldn't do anything about it other than just
Really?
wreck you.
Really?
But if you had the balls, take a piece of cheesecake and walk past a snake pit.
What's the snake pit? Where the drill instructors
are hanging out at,
Okay,
just
yeah.
monitoring thing.
Yeah.
If you had the balls to do it, they'd follow you to your table and just give it to you while you eat your cheesecake.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you never?
No, I never did.
You never
I saw it happen when I was towards the end of my basic training. You do duties, and one of the duties was working in the chow hall or whatever.
Yep.
And I saw somebody do it, and the kid was just like, walked past him.
Kept going for it.
They're just pissed, man. They're like, but they can't do apparently they can't do anything. They can't pick it up. Like if it was your boot camp, they would have picked it up, threw it in your face, and then you'd have been rolling out of the chow hall.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I think the Air Force's basic training focuses a lot on teamwork, which is probably important, and it had a lot of good values. It just wasn't Full Metal Jacket.
For sure.
It wasn't what you see on TV. It was harder for some, easier for others. You got young kids that never had military influence in their life. Joining at 17, 18 years old is probably way more difficult for them than it was. I turned 23 when I went to basic.
Oh, you were older.
Yeah.
Okay, but you had some life experience, so
Totally, yeah.
So like them yelling at you, you're like, this isn't shit.
Yeah, I mean, they always used to say, don't listen to how we say it. Listen to what we say.
Okay.
We want you to listen. Don't focus on us screaming at you. Just listen to what I have to say to you.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, I remember before I went, I was looking up videos on YouTube of basic training in the Air Force, and they had videos of it, and then I would look up Marine Corps boot camp, and I was like, oh my God.
You're like, I made the right decision.
I dodged that bullet. That guy's a fucking lunatic.
Yeah, right. I am doing the right thing.
But
yeah, have you seen those montages or the little clips where it's Army boot camp versus Marine boot camp? Those are hilarious.
Dude, I think all the branches should go through Marine boot camp.
For sure.
I think the Crucible
that should be the standard.
I think learn how to be a rifleman is good. And you're a Marine first, then, finance troop second. Like, whatever your job is, like, you got to learn how to
For sure.
be a Marine first. And I think everybody in the military should, because the problem is getting a little ahead of myself. I remember being overseas, and I remember when we, like, sent Tomahawks over into Syria.
Yeah.
And we were close.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, everybody's got to put their battle rattle on now, and you got to have your shit with you because it might get sporty here going on. This was like 2018.
And you're like, fuck, we're the Marines.
Oh, totally. No, and then I remember guys going, I didn't sign up for this shit.
Really?
I didn't join the military for this. Like, because some people join the military for college and all the benefits. But I know when you join the Marine Corps,
You joined the Marine Corps.
you're in the Marine Corps, right? Doesn't matter what you're doing for the Marine Corps. Like, at some point, you might be put in a position where
You're a Marine first.
get a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
The Air Force, people don't think like that, right? It's a corporation.
Oh, for sure.
The world's greatest Air Force, don't get me wrong, right? Fuck some people up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people like, I didn't sign up for this. I'm going to battle rattle.
Yeah, they're like, where's my rifle?
Yeah, like, we have rifles? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they've just been locked up. We haven't issued.
totally. No, that's how it is. They're like, and
Wait, so you get what? Okay. Or I don't even know where to start with you. So, boot camp finishes. How long until you deployed?
I got to my first duty station in April of 14, and my first deployment was March of 15.
Okay. And what was your MOS?
F-15 crew chief.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that entail?
So we launched recovered aircrafts, F-15 specifically, and we just did all the maintenance on them and fixed them and
So you're
turned
working.
and burned.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that?
Deployments were high speed.
Really?
Like F-15s are like, they're the go-to, right? Like they're the bombers.
Mm-hmm.
The F-15s, the F-16s, the A-10s are like, we got all these new fancy aircraft that they do their thing, but
They're the workhorses.
yeah, F-15s are just fucking.
So what's your school intel? I mean, what do you learn? How long was your school?
Like 6 months.
Okay.
With a 10-day break for Christmas because I was in there in Christmas. We got to go home. Then there's hot training where I did the job live.
Yep.
Under supervision of somebody that.
So what's the day in and day out of a crew chief consist of?
Dang. So there's 3 shifts. There's shift work. So you have day shift, swing shift, and mid shift.
Okay.
Mid shift's overnight. During training environment, like I was stationed out at Mountain Home.
Mm-hmm.
I was stationed at Lakenheath first in England, and then Mountain Home was where I finished my enlistment.
Oh, okay.
But day shift will just launch and recover the jets. We called them like glorified gas station attendants because they were just launching them. They would recover them, put fuel in them, check tires.
And recovery is just
oil.
literally just refilling, topping everything off.
And then ready for the next sortie is what they call them.
A sortie's a pilot, or
No, sortie's a flight.
Okay.
So, for instance, there's like 18 jets, right? They'll
Yeah.
do like what they call like a 12 turn 6. 12 jets will take off in the morning, do their training mission, come back. We'll turn 6 of them, meaning get 6 ready to go again,
Yep.
and then those 6 will go do
And
their.
then while
training
those other 6 are sitting there, you're getting those ready.
Yep. And then swing shift comes in, and then I found myself on swing shift most of my career, and that's where like all the heavy maintenance happens.
Okay.
They fly all day, they break the shit out of the jets.
How are you breaking jets?
The pilots.
Yeah, I mean,
they just all kinds of shit like
what goes wrong on an F-16 or F-15, whatever you're working on?
just fuck the same shit that goes wrong on your car.
Really?
Low oil pressure, hydraulics pumps not working correctly, RPMs not getting high enough, just motors blowing out, cooling systems not working enough.
And then these pilots, and no offense by this, and these pilots are trusting their life in the hands of some, like, obviously you joined a little bit later, but
Totally.
some 18, 19-year-old kid that isn't paying attention for fuck all, and they're turning wrenches on a jet on a how much does a jet cost?
God, I don't even know, man, but they're a lot more expensive than anything else.
Yeah.
And dude, that was one of the points I was going to bring up on this chit chat is like the relationship between a crew chief and the pilots of the jet, because they're officers, right?
Yes.
And it's like unlike any other relationship in the
Are you
military.
guys like on a first name basis?
Well, 100%. We're drinking beers at the bar, hanging. I'm still
He
friends.
trusts you.
Yeah, like
This is okay. This is what blows my mind, and I've always had these questions because I look at these guys like flying around on the weekend, even in birds, and I'm like, knowing what I know about the military now, and it being an absolute shit show about everything, and everything has gone to the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
And so you have the lowest bidder on parts, then you have some disgruntled private that just getting his ass chewed all day long.
Totally.
That's turning wrenches on a jet or a helicopter, and then these pilots just walk out and have full trust in you.
Right. There's a
Fuck that.
There's a rank structure within the flight line, right?
Okay.
So you got nobody goes in as an E1 anymore, or even an E2. Most contracts now, like you sign up for 6 as soon as you, like I did, as soon as you graduate your tech school, you're an E3.
Okay.
Stuff, right? So,
but still, I mean, you're
totally.
That's your new private. Is it E3?
So private, right? So then you have like your airman first class, your senior airman, and then your NCOs at staff sergeant.
Okay.
Blah blah blah. So there's like a rank structure on the flight line.
Yeah.
So the 19-year-old A1C is not deeming that jet airworthy by any means.
Got it.
Right. There's a NCO that's coming into it. So like as I progressed in my career and when I put on staff and I became a lead 7 level on the flight line, like I was signing off the red X's. So like they were performing the maintenance that I used to perform.
Okay.
I was coming behind them, verifying it, saying, yeah, that's done right, or no, that's not done right, or helping them do it. And
that's a huge responsibility.
I mean, for a 27-year-old, it was a big responsibility, and it's one of the reasons I'm not in aviation anymore.
Just too stressful, or what?
You know, I was deeming jets airworthy to have 2 souls on board to go drop bombs in Iraq.
Yeah.
To fly over war zones.
And you're checking off on all this.
And I'm second to last of checking off on it, right? Once I do it, then it goes to like a senior NCO. Then he's like, yeah, these are good. Forms look good. They're looking at the forms. They're giving it once over on the jet, and then thing's going.
How quick is the turnaround?
It can be super quick.
Yeah.
You know, if the jet comes back code 1 to green jet, yeah, nothing's wrong with it. Sweet. Fuel it up, load her up, go back at it again. And when we were in, wartime, I mean, we had a jet in the air 24 hours a day.
No shit.
Yeah. So like on my last deployment in 18 going into 19, we were busy. We dropped like 3,500 bombs that trip.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And so you guys, I mean, so you're literally everything getting that whole entire plane ready, and that pilot just gets in, everything's loaded, bombs are strapped, and they just get in and go.
They just get in and go raise hell somewhere.
Is that a pretty cool feeling, knowing that like you see these pilots come in empty?
Oh yeah, dude. So it's funny. It's kind of like some Top Gun shit.
Yeah.
When they come back from mission, so we always had 2 jets in the air, but we also had like alert birds that were configured differently. Ready to go depending on what was going on. So the 2 jets in the air were always just kind of over country, waiting for the call. Hey, we got troops in contact here. Okay. Or we're like, hey, high value target located here. He's on our list. Whack him.
Really?
Or then,
are you getting updates on all this, or is it once? Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, like you're. So okay, continue. I have so many questions for you on this one.
There was like some special jets that were configured differently that had different,
like air to air or things like that.
Yeah, we didn't deal with a lot of air to air.
What do you mean configured differently?
It might have had bigger bombs or
okay, so you're talking ordnance
bombs,
like bunker busters versus,
or it might have had some more jamming capabilities of some shit that I don't even know about, you know.
Okay.
And they're just waiting, and they're like, that jet needs to go right fucking now.
Really? How often does that happen?
Not that often, because usually the jets in the air were like capable of doing whatever they were doing.
Okay.
But we didn't do a lot of air-to-air shit, right?
No, I know. I wasn't sure when you were saying you had them ready, configured different, just in case like there was an air-to-air threat, and they had some different munitions strapped to them that are different.
Dude, I think one of the coolest things was in 2015, we were over there, and they're just looking for people to fuck up. Yeah. And they found a soccer stadium in Iraq that was taken over by whoever, right? We'll say ISIS or whatever. and they were using it as a training facility and weapons storage facility.
Oh.
And they were out. They found them out there just doing their exercises, and like it was like their boot camp of. And they were like, "Well, that can't happen." And so they put together this fucking strike package, and like they were loading up like 2,000-pound bombs on all these jets. And then we have like there was F-16s, there was F-15s, there was like this big old operation about to be taking place.
Mm-hmm.
So we launch it, and we I can't remember the poundage of bombs that we put on that stadium.
No shit.
But by the end of it, it didn't exist. It just went.
Oh, I'm sure.
We got to watch it later on.
That was my next question.
Yeah,
Do you get to see all the footage?
Oh, dude, just destroyed. And then that's kind of when you're just like, dude, being a crew chief's pretty fucking badass.
Yeah, because those are your boys and girls that got to put everything together for it.
But when you asked me like, how cool was it when they would come back empty? So whenever they came back, they'd have to squawk. They'd be like, hey, we're 10 out. This is wrong with the jet. Here's what we have left on.
Oh, so they're giving you a pre-check of
because the weapons troops have to know, and the airfield has to know, because these are live ordnance
munitions that are coming back,
armed,
Yep.
landing on the runway.
Is that do they come off? I mean, and what are the chances of it actually?
So, if they come off, they're likely not. They're not going to detonate. They have like a lot of them are like. They have to hit a certain airspeed and drop certain altitude before they're like ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
But it's still like protocol, you know?
For sure.
So if they came back, they'd tell us like, hey, we ain't got nothing left. And then they would buzz the flight line, because they couldn't buzz the flight line
if they had ordnance.
So when they didn't, they would tell like, hey, we're empty, motherfuckers.
Yeah. So it's a flex when they
everybody
come
would
back.
stop what they were doing, dude. And I'm telling you, it was literally like Top Gun. And they would buzz us, and we're just down there like, ah.
Oh, hell yeah. I could imagine that.
Like high-fiving people.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Gets back, and like they're fucking pumped because they just ruined somebody's day.
For sure.
And
probably saved a bunch of troops' lives, too.
Totally, yeah. You know, there was a lot going on at that time.
And you're an Afghan, correct?
No, we were actually...
Or you said Iraq.
Well, we were working out of... in the corner of Jordan.
Really?
Where Syria and Iraq and Jordan all come together. So we were there. So we were like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Like
you were in the triangle.
We could go everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and those jets, dude, it's fascinating how quick.
13 minutes from the time they took off to the time that they were
dropping ordnance.
Engaged, yeah.
13 minutes. Now, when you sit here and we think like 13 minutes, fuck, that's close. But like, I mean, how many hundreds of miles, and these dudes are just ripping to get there?
Oh, yeah. I mean...
You're talking another country away, and they're there and back in half an hour.
Yeah. Like, 13 minutes is what I was told, but, like, there were times where, like, helicopters got up in the air, and they're like, we got to go do some shit. Where are they going? I don't know.
No shit.
They're following that armored vehicle that just took off last night. Because, like, the flight line was, like, where everybody left.
Yeah.
So, like, I was just waving at these people in polo shirts and ball caps on. Like,
okay.
Who are those guys?
Yeah, where'd they come from?
Where'd they come from?
What job is that?
Yeah. They just come back 2 days later all fucked up.
Yeah, cars just riddled. And
like, oh, man.
Yeah. Flight line looks pretty good right about now.
Yeah. So, I mean... you know, there's always like, obviously all their branches talk shit about everybody, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, fuck, man, we did some cool shit in the Air Force.
I mean, that's pretty rad, you know, to be able to know that you are impacting like a war zone by not just like, oh, hey, I turned a wrench, but like I strapped this JDAM to this jet and it didn't come back.
We were a fucking cheat code, dude. Like,
I guess that's one way to put at it.
It's like, you know, there'd be troops in contact taking AK fire. And then the guys on the ground like, well, I brought an F-15 to a gunfight.
Yeah, we win.
Yeah.
Game over.
See you later.
Or an A-10 just comes in and just melts everything to the ground.
So, I mean, there was a lot, and it was high-paced.
Really? So there wasn't a lot of downtime for you guys? What's high-paced for you?
So we worked 12-hour shifts. Okay. I was my last one, I was midnight to noon.
How many deployments did you do?
2.
Okay.
I was midnight to noon. And then you get 1 day off. So you do 6 days on, and you get 1 shift off.
Fuck that.
and then another 6 days. And so that off day, you were just like fucking off in the.
Were you QR or you were off? Okay.
Yeah.
Like our off days, we were always QRF, so you
Right,
could
yeah.
never get out of like boots and use like you were like.
Yeah.
Then you get called, and you're like, God.
Oh, dude, I'm walking around in civvy clothes on my days off. Just like hanging out. We got like three.
How was your okay?
3 beers a day.
Can you name what? Can you tell us what beer? You got 3 beers a day. See, I've said this so many times on this podcast already. Not everybody's military experience was equal.
Oh yeah, man! I got a buddy at work who was a submariner, and my stories and his stories are just completely different.
Oh, 103 beers a day.
Yeah. And then if you've done it right,
How was your chow hall?
it was good. You know, it's
Was it Air Force good or was it like okay?
Yeah,
So it was Air Force. So it was a Marine amazing.
oh 100%. Well, you know, it's funny though. So at this base, there was an Army unit there too. It was the surface to missile
Okay.
deterring unit. Right? They had the SAMs, I think is what it was.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Were they the only army on your base?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were living in like the airmen were in tent cities, so the term airman is like anything below an NCO.
Okay.
They had these tents with bunks and stuff. They weren't bad. And then the NCOs, we lived in these boxes that had 2 beds in them.
Little Kwanzaa hut or a
Yeah,
little
but
Connex
like
box.
your little roommate was on opposite shift as you,
Yep. Yep.
so it worked out.
Yeah.
The Army built their own little fucking compound right in the middle of that base, like with their sandbags and their nets and stuff. And like I'm walking past to go to the chow hall where they're like eating MREs in there. I was like, you know, you guys don't have to play Army here. Like,
You can relax.
hang out with the rest of us. Like,
That's so funny you say that because like we a couple of my buddies and I we ended up going to do some training on some Air Force bases and it was almost like taking like a captured dog that's been like kenneled its whole life and then you like open the gate to it and it's like what do we do? You know, like we didn't
Yeah.
even know like freedom. Like
Yeah.
we had no idea how to even
Right.
act on Air Force bases because you know it was like, wait, you guys just get to do what you want. Like you get to wake up, and it was fascinating. And then we were, I have to ask some of my buddies. I don't remember what Air Force base it was. We left Kuwait. I want to say I could be completely wrong on this, and nobody quote me on this, but I want to say it was called Camp Liberty. And we got there, and it was all Air Force, and we were the only Marine unit on this base. And it was the weirdest environment, and we couldn't figure out why for the first few days. Like, no, dude, every time they had like this little outdoor, they had like a Pizza Hut,
yeah.
Burger King, and you know the typical overseas shit with all the Indians working it.
Yeah.
And you get the head
Goat cheese on the
yeah,
pizza.
and you get the head rub where they're fucking smacking you and all that
Out
shit.
of you after a haircut.
Well, you know, us being Marines, we're trying to spit game to all the Air Force chicks immediately.
Yeah.
And I ended up talking to this chick and the group of buddies, and they were all like spitting game. And I was sitting there, and she's kind of sitting there. We're just bullshitting, and not in like a spitting game type of way. But it's just a conversation. And I was like, man, this is the weirdest base. And she's like, oh, well, they warned us that the Marines were coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a God honest true story. I got a whole platoon of witnesses for this. I'm like, well, what do you mean they warned you? And they're like, yeah, all of our NCOs, they got us together. They got all the women together, and they told us all Marines want to do is try to rape us and have sex with us. And I'm like, and all my buddies like turn, and I'm like, this is legit. And I'm like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, all of our NCOs, all the guys sat us down and told us how horrible you Marines are and to stay away from you. So for like the first 3 days, and we were just moving through, I think we were there only like maybe a week max.
Right.
No one would talk to us. It was like the weirdest shit. Like we'd be in line, like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And then like they would just like turn their back to us. We're like, "Fuck the Air Force. Like these guys are assholes." You know, like the women are stuck up. The dudes hate us. Like it was really awkward. Come to find out, these dudes were threatened and told all the women, like they literally had like a formation. They're like, "Oh, this is how Marines operate. They're just gonna try to rape." And and we were like, "This is the craziest shit we've ever heard." And I got to find out what base it was. I want to say it was Camp Liberty. It
just
might have been in
jealous.
Kuwait or it was right over the Iraq border.
Yeah.
That's all it came down to.
Yeah.
Like there was no
Yeah.
incidences. Like within like a
Yeah.
day after that, like they realized we weren't there to like rape and pillage this Air Force base. I'm like, you realize like we're in the military too, and like
Yeah.
we can't go anywhere. It's not like we can just take off. It was a really weird environment. Like in the chow halls were fascinating. We got stared at like we were like from a different planet walking in on Air Force bases. At least back in the early days. Now I don't know what it's like, but it was a different environment for sure.
Dude, I always tell people like there's 2 parts of the Air Force, right? There's the flight line, and and then there's the Air Force.
So do you consider the flight line like the real Air Force?
Totally, because
Okay.
so just like any other branch, there's every job in the Air Force, right? The finance people, the guys working at the gym, the people there's just all that stuff. We called them nonners because we didn't really need them. Right? The mission continues without them.
Interesting.
Right?
See, I've never gotten this.
So like
version.
there was like this bad blood between like the flight line and then the rest of the Air Force because we worked shift work on the flight line, right? We worked as long as we needed to keep the jets going. Where you go to the finance office and they're like, "Oh, we're closed the rest of the day for training." Like, what the fuck?
Oh, we're having a party. We're having
Yeah.
a company meeting.
Yeah, dude, there'd be like,
Yes,
signs on the door. It's like, yeah, we're not here today.
Company barbecue, and you're like, it's a fucking Wednesday, and I need to get my finances figured
Yeah,
out.
totally. Like, I'm deploying, and I need you to sign off on my fucking checklist.
Yes.
And so the flight line was kind of like, I think people kind of had like a chip on their shoulder because like we are the Air Force, right? Like we're not the United
What
States.
makes the Air Force the
We're
Air
not
Force.
the United States Finance Office.
Yeah, yeah.
And so a lot of times we would run into Marines and Army guys and some people that I don't even know when I'm over there. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, I'm a crew chief. And they were like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, that's badass. They would bring us like popsicles on the flight line and shit. Like the guys coming back from doing whatever they were doing.
Yeah, right.
Their camping trips out there.
Yep.
And
Little
just-
excursions.
Just bring us snacks and just be like, yeah, man, like,
Thank you.
this is cool.
Yeah.
Fuck those other guys.
Exactly, right?
And so, yeah, I mean, there's like, I always say there's two different Air Forces, the Air Force and the flight line.
That's hilarious. I've never heard it explained like that because we would always just look at all of it. Like,
Yeah.
even the Marine flight line on the Marine Bay, like Pendleton, I had when I was a martial arts instructor, I had to go teach the flight line. I was like, fuck, I gotta go teach the flight line goobs, you know,
Air
like
wingers or something.
wingers.
they call 'em?
Yeah, we call them the wingers. And we're like, I gotta go with the wingers section, and it's because it's same thing, you know. But we look at those as I guess would be the nonners because we don't
Totally.
need them. We're all legs. and,
Yeah.
you know, I was mechanized, so I'm in tanks, and
Yeah.
you know, we have everything we need. And so
Right.
it's like, oh, I gotta go train the freaking wingers and
Yeah.
like these guys. But it was so fascinating to me when I was around them. And obviously these weren't Air Force, these were Marines. But it was like, I come from a world where you never spoke to any of your seniors, staff NCOs when you were a troop like that.
Right.
You didn't talk, and you saw an officer or anybody above like a gunny and up. You just, as a troop, you didn't fuck with them. Like you're just asking for it, you know. And then I go to the wing and I'm like instructing these officers, these pilots, you know, on teaching basic ground fighting and these tactics with their crew chiefs. And some of them would have like these female crew chiefs, and they were like, "Hey Jim, oh Susan, come here," and it blew my mind that there was a whole different world on this Marine Corps base that I didn't even know existed. And it was just like, wait, because fraternization, you can't talk to staff NCOs and officers, and you address them by their rank, and that is it.
Yeah.
And then I go to the flight line, and everything was a first name basis. They're all laughing and fucking off, playing ass grab, and it was fascinating for me. And I'd come back and tell my like, you guys have no idea what goes on at the flight line. Like, it's a whole different world.
They're unhinged.
Yeah, they're just calling each other Jin the first name, and I'm like, this is our whole career's been a lie. The rest of the Marine Corps, like, I had no idea. It was fascinating to me.
On the Air Force flight line, like, you know, most of the pilots are like majors and below, right?
Yeah.
You got some lieutenant colonels, but once they don't fly as much once they start getting up into the air. But like, fuck, we were like on a nickname to call sign basis.
Yeah.
Like everybody called me Pete because there's 1,000 Petersons in the Air Force, you know?
Yeah.
So like, hey, Pac-Man, how's it going? Ready to fly today? Like, I mean, it was just like that. Like, I built such good relationships with the pilot guys that like when I got out in 2019, I had a barbecue at my house and pilots were there.
That's cool.
Right. And, but it was just, I mean, I think it's important to have that relationship and that bond as well, too.
Oh,
with those
well, I mean,
guys.
there's a huge trust factor.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, our vehicle goes down, we just stop. You know, like, oh, fuck, we're down, get the wrecker. You know, like, come get us.
Right.
There's no going down. You know? But so there's a lot of trust that comes into play. And I've always, even as a young Marine, I'd always watch these birds fly by, and I'm like, there's some private turning a wrench somewhere on that thing, because I'd look at my crewmen and be like, God help us. Like,
Yeah. Great.
we're able to barely get off the beach.
We're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, but like I said, it's super structured. There's like different
3
level, 5 level, 7 levels. So, I mean,
Everything's checked.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. It's super strict out there too.
For the most part. There's always that little question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the cool things about the flight line too, I was compared to like the other Air Force, right? Like, we'll like Copenhagen, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to chew on the flight line. Give a fuck about you chewing on the flight line. Like we're especially overseas, right? Like we're putting warheads on fucking foreheads. Like
Yeah.
we've had some like people touring the flight line.
Those are the worst.
It's like some like
General
or a colonel from whatever the fuck shop on the other side of base, and like
just landed, only been there 2 days,
Yeah.
wants a tour of the place.
yeah. And one time, like I guess he went into like our senior leadership's office, like couldn't help notice the amount of Copenhagen out there on that flight line today. They're just like,
Yep.
yeah, they've been here for fucking 5 months.
Yeah. Yeah, and you haven't, so fuck off.
You know. Like,
Yeah, that's how it always is.
Yeah.
So when you were loading ordinances, did you ever like write a message on them or anything? Were you guys allowed to?
Yeah. So I never actually loaded anything.
Yeah.
Right. The weapons troops did, but no, that we never did that. That was I'm not sure when that ended or how it ended, but I know it ended.
Yeah, they did away with that.
Yeah. Like I never did personally, no, and I never really saw anyone do it.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't even know if anyone put any stickers on them or anything. They're pretty protective of those bombs.
I could imagine.
A lot of money in those things.
There's a lot.
Yeah, and just publicity too. Like, gosh, if you put something on there and it got into the wrong hands, and all of a sudden someone back in the States sees it and they're offended, right?
Or it doesn't go off, it just buries in someone's house, and there's some freaking unit sticker stuck on the side of it.
Yeah.
It's like that makes the news.
Yeah,
I can
there
see
we did have a we did have an ongoing problem with people drawing dicks on airplanes.
On airplanes?
Yeah, like in the intakes.
Okay.
Because like.
Oh, the exhaust on
Yeah,
it?
we used to inspect the intakes and then we used to hop into the intakes in a bunny suit.
Okay.
And look at the blades with there's dust everywhere in there, right? So you would just be like, you'd write a message to somebody and then it would just keep on going. And like, it got so bad one time that like, I remember like our section chief was like, for the love of God, man, stop drawing fucking dicks everywhere. Like, for the love, like,
all military is the same.
You guys are adults. No, we're not.
We had a huge inspection on our vehicles. One of the vehicles ended up going down in the water, and a crew chief drowned in like 30 foot of water. It was a shit show, all preventable. But you know, when something goes down like that, all shit rolls downhill after that. So they knee jerk reaction. We got to know all the vehicles are up, and they were doing this giant battalion vehicle inspection. Yeah. I don't know how long this person was like secretly drawing dicks underneath everybody's vehicle, like in spray paint, like giant dick across the bottom of the vehicle. So you can crawl underneath an Amtrak. And the chief warrant officer goes under to start checking suspensions and just starts finding dicks spray painted on every single vehicle. It was a huge ordeal. Like, it was a massive, and I'm like, guys, like, they're fucking Marines. Like,
people's heads are spinning.
Oh, dude, they couldn't fathom. Like, Marines are drawing dicks, and we were at the schoolhouse too, so we have students that are. I think they ended up knowing who ended up doing it, but yeah, this guy like tagged like every single vehicle in the battalion, like just spray painted a giant dick underneath every one of them.
I'll stand by it right now. I turned 34 years old in a few weeks, and I will never not laugh at a dick drawing.
I mean, every Porta-John, you go and that's the first thing I look for is where's the dick drawing? You're like, oh, there it is. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, and dude, we had some artists, man. There was some elaborate ones. Like,
and then they draw things like out of the...
Yeah, some details, you know? Remember the movie Superbad?
Yes, bro.
His lunchbox full of dicks.
Yes, that was the military. My whole military career. It was just like, then you had like the dick artist in your platoon. Like everywhere you went, they just leave their mark. And so you're just like, oh, okay, we know who that was.
When I was stationed in England, we had this building on the flight line.
Oh God.
And they decided we were going to turn it into like a hangout spot.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to store toolboxes out there so we didn't have to drag them all the way from the main building. Anyways, so they're like, hey, we're going to tear up all the carpet. We're going to put rubber flooring down.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be great. So they're like, we need volunteers to do it on Saturday. And our section chief was like, I'll bring some beer. We'll start knocking it out. It'll be a good old time. I was like, oh, fuck. You had me at beer. So we show up, we tear out all the carpet, and we're painting the walls red because we were the 494th Panthers, red leads. Well, we're also painting dicks on the floor in red paint.
Okay.
It's just going crazy, right? We put the rubber flooring down. We finish everything up. It looks real nice. I PCS'd. But I found out shortly after that ops, which is a pilot world, they wanted to take hey, we're gonna have that building now, and we're gonna put new flooring down. We're gonna put like vinyl plank flooring on it. So all these officers are in there. I guess my buddy was telling me they're peeling up all the rubber flooring that we put down.
Yeah.
Fucking dicks
Everywhere.
Red rockets everywhere.
All these officers are just uncovering all this?
Yeah, and it's like the administrative officers, not even the pilots.
Oh,
'Cause,
God.
like the pilots are bros.
Which have no sense of humor. Administrative officers have no sense of humor.
No, they're sticks
Zero.
in the mud.
They're horrible.
Yeah, like pilots are cool. They're just a bunch of frat boys, man.
Yeah.
They party and they work, and sometimes both.
Yeah.
Like they don't give a fuck about dicks.
Zero. That's because they're literally, when you say frat boys, like, I mean, I got to hang out with a bunch of the A10 guys here for Hog Smoke. I got invited out to go and watch those guys. And we went to the bar before and after with, all of the squadrons and everything that were there. And, dude, they were the coolest dudes ever. I'm like, man, I feel bad for talking shit on all y'all for all these years. And they're all looking at me. It was, it was a big joke. But that's all they are. They're just bros.
Yeah, 100%.
Just bros.
They're like super gay bros together.
Yeah.
Because I hope some of them are going to listen to this.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure. We're trying to get I got an A10 pilot that was supposed to be on today. He's gonna come on here in the next week or two. But
yeah, they're cool.
They're good dudes, man. And then they're just there to get the job done. And you can't be a douche. You can't be a stick in the mud when you literally have the coolest job on the planet.
Yeah.
There's nothing cooler than a fighter jet pilot. Like,
No.
I mean, I'll find me one. So, I mean, send me a list of jobs that beats dropping JDAMs on somebody.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than that.
I mean, I think like being like maybe a Navy SEAL is pretty cool.
Nah, fuck those dudes. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Like, as I was sitting out there before I came onto this thing, because like I'm gonna be honest, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, either do I.
And so I'm going through all these ones and like watching little highlights of it, right?
Yeah.
And I see like one guy talking about like getting hit by like 3 IEDs. I was like, oh fuck, I hope I'm not behind one of those guys. Like some guy in here talking about how many doors he's kicked in.
Yeah, right.
It's like dominating buds and just fucking people up. And then it's like, so now we got this Air Force guy. And let me tell you about these times I changed all 3 tires on that motherfucker on a quick turn. So I was like,
hey, it's the side of the military.
who's ahead of me?
Yeah, right? Like, I'm not going to follow this guy.
Yeah, great.
But that's the best part about this is because I get to sit down and have this conversation with a guy that worked on the flight line that I've never been able to understand, and realize what a crew chief does the day in and day out. It's like, I don't ever get to see that shit. Yeah. We just get to hear the jets leaving. We get to see the guys in their flight suits. We're like, oh, they look cool. Yeah. The Marine, unless you're in it, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And there's so many different parts and aspects of the military that people don't have any idea what goes on.
Right.
So.
And it's crazy, like, even within the branches, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like, I was just talking about the 2 different sides of the Air Force. Mm-hmm. Those people that are, like, taking a Thursday off for their training day or whatever and going to a potluck for fucking Bob's birthday.
Retirement.
Yeah, like, they have no idea what goes on.
Oh, no idea.
Line
no
on the other side of base.
No clue. And you know what fucks that is those guys leave, like in the Marine Corps. It's the same thing. You have your admins and super pogue units, and this guy goes as like 10, 12 years in that unit, and then they have to pick up first sergeant or master sergeant, so then they have to leave their billet to go to another one, and that's when we would pick them up.
Yeah.
And they come in like, everything's perfect, covering the line. You got to have your uniform pressed every day. And then they're coming into like these, our battalions where we're like, we didn't give a fuck. We were just
a riff-raff, dude.
Oh, 100%. And it was like, oh, God, here we go again. Yeah. And they try to reinvent the wheel. It's because they come from a unit that was never in the field. Or when you go to the field with these guys, oh, my God, the worst, what they try to get you to do. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense. And it's coming from some guy that sat in an office his whole career. Yeah. I'm sure it's the same with you guys. You get some... What'd you call the nonners or what are you?
The nonners.
The nonners that come to the flight line because they had to change B billets or whatever. Then they come in and you can't dip. You got to wear this on the flight line. All your PPE has to be on, and you're just like, here we go again. And like that's one of the worst parts is just having to deal with the change of command all the time.
Lucky for us, like I think from the bottom to the top, like in a fighter squadron, like the senior master sergeant, which is like an E8, right?
Yeah.
Crew chief.
Oh, no shit, huh?
Chief master sergeant, crew chief. So like we did have that was kind of cool.
Okay.
Like
So they know.
they know.
They know what goes on.
The other side of the house though, like the new maintenance officer would come in,
Yeah.
fresh out of the academy.
Yep.
Here I am. Most of those were cool too. I mean, I got pretty lucky.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't have to experience too much of the change and reinventing the wheel, I feel like that's half the military battles. They're constantly reinventing everything.
I think the worst is someone that's like stuck at a rank, so they're trying to figure out like, wow, what the fuck do I got to do to get my neck? Like, how can I do something that's going to show on a performance eval? They start fucking looking around to figure out what they're going to change so they can write it down.
Oh, that's all it comes down to is.
And then they're like, well, we have to do this. Why do we have to do this? The lieutenant thought it would be a good idea. Well, it's not.
It's a horrible idea.
Like, well, we still got to do it, and then he'll see that it's not a good idea, and then we'll move along. Okay.
That is so true.
You got it.
I'm glad you guys get to go through that as well. It's good to know that there's the struggle is across the board.
Hey guys, we're about to do some real stupid shit, but just bear with me here.
It'll be over in a week once you realize it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's typical experience in the military. So on your deployments, like while you're off shift, what do you guys get to do? I mean, what's your base like? So you're up by Syria, Jordan
land.
Iraq.
Yeah, it's like pretty bare bones.
Okay.
But like they have like a big tent that's like the community center.
Okay.
Pool tables, ping pong tables, video games. Just I was gonna say normal shit, but maybe not for a Marine.
Yeah, right.
Like, you know, they have football games. If it's football season, they got Monday Night Football playing.
Okay, that's nice.
Where you could drink your 3 beers.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
That you can get 3 beers every day.
Every day. And then, like, if your buddies, like, if it was your birthday, sometimes you'd be like, well, there's like 5 of us, right? Okay, everybody's drinking 2 beers, and this guy's getting everybody's third because it's his birthday.
No shit.
Yeah. Or like Thanksgiving and Christmas, they'd give you 4 a day. It was wild.
You guys, I mean, 4 beers. I guess like back then, I mean, I feel like if I chugged 4 beers really fast, I can get a buzz.
Yeah.
Especially if you weren't drinking at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had a movie tent, and like movie people were like sending over copies of like movies that were in the movie theaters still.
Oh, the bootleg ones? Or were these real?
These were like real.
Yeah, that's Air Force. Why would I think you guys had bootleg?
Yeah, we had the legit shit.
We were buying them off fucking Haji's. Like, that was riding some donkey down the street. He'd have this bag full of DVDs, and they were literally recording them where, like, somebody would stand up in the movie theater and walk by the camera, or the battery would die, so you'd miss, like, half of an action scene.
Right.
Those were the movies that we were getting.
And we had a gym, a pretty nice gym to work out at. This is going to blow your fucking mind. We had, like, a makeshift BX, right? Exchange.
Okay,
What do you guys call them?
BX.
Yeah. And in there was like a cell phone company, and you could buy an SD card, and you put it into your phone, and you got phone service. What? Dude, I'm sitting there on the flight line like Facebooking. I was talking to you on Instagram in 2019 from my little shack on the flight line.
We were, huh?
Yeah. Like, so you mean you had legit cell phone service?
That's so nice.
Base-wide Wi-Fi.
Base what?
Yeah, I mean...
I guess it's 2019. They should have it at that point.
Right.
You know?
But
like,
I mean,
it's
like,
not 04 anymore.
We had the amenities. We were watching Netflix.
That's pretty nice. And you just go to work like it's a normal day.
Yeah. Start your shift at midnight. Get off at noon.
Had the whole rest of the day to fuck off.
Yeah, until midnight that night. Yeah.
How tired were you every day?
It got pretty...
I would not sleep on that shit.
It's like... Well, the thing is, too, it's like Groundhog's Day, right?
Yeah.
And, like, your deployments are probably a lot different, right? It's probably something different each day. You're in a different part of the country or a different part of the town or different somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Sleeping in a different hole in a different mountain. Mine was the same thing every fucking day.
How was that on the psychology behind... I mean, do you just start to lose your mind after a bit?
You get in a rhythm, which is nice. Like, so our deployments were 6.5 months.
That's nice.
And at like your 6-month mark is when the new squadron comes in. You have like half a month of turnover, and
left
then
seat, right seat.
You get the hell out of there. And so when you first get there, you're just trying to get like a rhythm. Like mine was like wake up at 11 p.m., go get some breakfast, and then just walk to the flight line.
Oh, so you're just going straight from chow to work.
Yeah. And then get off. I'd go to the gym, go eat, go watch Netflix and go to bed. I mean, super bare.
That was it.
Yeah, and then my days off, I would sleep into like 1 a.m.
And just repeat.
And then I would go to the gym, and I had my iPad, and I would get on the bike, and I would ride the bike for, I mean, sometimes 2 hours of
Really?
just pedaling and watching whatever the fuck I'm watching on the Netflix. The Ranch was a big thing back then.
No kidding.
The Ashton Kutcher show.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was so big that like my buddies and I would like, we were a bunch of fucking girls. We would be like, we'd get off shift and we'd all go watch it. But then the next day we'd like talk about it. It was like book club, but for a show.
Yeah, that's 100% though. I mean, we had Sopranos.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like we were on the Sopranos on DVD, and we'd all, oh my god, did you see I can't believe they killed that dude. And, You
Yeah.
know, like that's deployment.
Right. And then we always had that one guy. There's one guy specifically who I was like, okay, well, here's what I want to know. Like, out of the 3 girls, which one would you bang first?
There's always that dude.
Well, this one, and this
Yeah,
one. You know?
kill one, save one. Fuck yeah,
like-
that guy.
and
There's
so
always that dude.
And it becomes like, it's this, I always explain it as like, I was always finding something to look forward to each day. Look forward to getting off work and going to the gym. Look forward to watching my show.
Yep.
Look forward to meeting up with the guys in the morning and talking about my show or whatever. And that you just, all of a sudden, it's time to go home and you're loading up on the Atlas airplane. I think that's what
Really?
It was at like a chartered military jet.
And that's how you come home, huh?
Yeah. And coming home is like the weird part.
It's a really weird feeling because you feel the world stops
Yeah.
and waits for you,
No.
and you come back and it's weird. It's hard. It's been so long now, but like I remember, like you're like lost. Like you
Yeah.
haven't driven a car in almost a year.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in Humvees and vehicles, but I
Right.
mean, you're wired. You know, every time you think you're gonna fucking die or something, or you're stealing a bus off of Al-Assad, like, you know, so you don't get, and you're figuring shit out. Like you become like your routine, and it's just that becomes your new life.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the next day, you're back in the States.
Right.
Super weird.
What's really crazy, and like I always try to keep things like super upbeat. That's just my personality, right? But one of the crazy things was like coming back. You just spent, we'll say, 7 months, controlled environment, right? Very controlled environment, and you have all the means to protect yourself from whatever's going to be thrown your way. You're ready. Your buddy's ready. That guy's ready. You're just ready, and then you get home, and it's like, welcome back to life.
Yeah.
Just go about your business, and then all of a sudden you're not in this controlled environment.
Weird.
Then all of a sudden you find yourself at like Texas Roadhouse, and you're like, "Fuck,
So many people here.
what's going on here?" Like nobody here has any training.
Yep.
Who's going to be in charge of shit hits the fan? Which is just like it's silly to think.
that's where your
it
mind
sounds
is.
silly when I say it now,
For
right?
sure.
But it's like, okay, there's the exit. That guy's fucked. You know, you find yourself stereotyping everybody.
Everybody.
It's like,
he ain't
I
making it.
need to knock this shit off.
That looks like he could hold his own. Like, yeah. I think I still do that half the time.
And it's just like, because you, like I said, you get that whole routine down, and then you just get off the airplane at Mountain Home Air Force Base, get into your truck,
That you left there.
and reconnect your batteries, because you disconnect your batteries so they don't die while you're gone.
Oh, man.
Air up your tires, go along your way, meet your buddies at the bar.
From deployment.
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah. And then they gave you 2 weeks off. So
Yeah.
then you're like, for 2 weeks, you're like,
What do I do?
just drunk.
You drink yourself into a coma.
Like, oh, fuck it. You know?
Fuck your 3 beers.
Yeah,
I get a
what am I
handle of
doing?
Jameson.
What am I doing for 2 weeks? Like, I'm not launching jets anymore.
You only got 2 weeks off after a deployment?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, well, yours were a year long.
Yeah, we're close to it, just
Yeah.
under. But
So you got what, like a month?
yeah, we got a month.
Yeah. Maybe it's like 2 weeks every 6 months or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That seems about right.
Yeah.
So you went back to the same base both times, or you were on different bases?
Different bases. My first one was like, you want to talk about Air Force. It was at Al Dhafar Air Base, UAE.
How was that?
We had a pool.
You motherfuckers, man.
Yeah. And like we were doing missions from there, so they were long flights for those guys.
What's a long flight?
I mean, there's the combat sorties, we call them, were like 6-7 hours, sometimes 8 hours, because it would take them like 3 hours to get to where they're going from there.
Are they fueling up midair, or?
Yeah, they're hitting tankers in the air. Yeah.
Damn, that is a long flight, huh?
Yeah, so
And then when you have ordnance on, I mean, you're probably burning so much.
Oh yeah, they're heavy, dude. They like when they take off, they're immediately hitting a tanker.
Really?
Yeah, just dumps. I mean, they just fully loaded, get up. I'm not sure they're quite bingo at that point,
What's bingo?
like low fuel,
Okay.
but they're hitting a tanker, getting fuel, and then going on there.
Hitting a tanker on the way back?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And so,
So do you consider those tankers part of real Air Force, or are those...
yeah, I mean, they got crew chiefs.
Okay.
They're not as high. They're not as high speed as we are.
I feel like that's a pretty dope-ass job, though, to be on a tanker in the middle of the air, and all of a sudden some jet just like
Yeah.
pulls in behind you, and you're just...
There's a boom operator down there
Yeah.
with a joystick,
It's
like
just
trying
laying
not to
there.
poke a hole in this thing.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a pretty legit
Yeah,
job for
it's
the Air
cool.
Force.
I've been back there before while they're refueling
Yeah.
during training.
Okay.
We used to go down to Florida for TDYs every year in Panama City.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Oh, dude, we were playing at this. We were at this place called Edgewater Beach Resort
Okay.
in Panama City. Working just regular shifts, weekends off, 3 weeks during spring break.
Oh, my God.
Just a fucking riot of a
Just
time.
cleaning
I was
house.
golfing each day. Yeah,
This is why we hate the Air Force so much, just because of these stories.
dude.
Like,
I-
if you hear Marie tell stories, we're like, really?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like, it's like, you know, it was something that, like, off the wall, or like, I was stationed on with some Air Force unit. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
then it makes sense.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun on those. We'd go to Nellis every year for Red Flag
Really?
and just hang out in Vegas for 3 weeks. I mean, it was hot because it was always August.
Oh, miserable.
For whatever reason, we did it in
But
August.
It's still Vegas.
Yeah, and they'd like given us like $80 a day per diem.
Just to hang out.
Yeah,
That is fascinating.
yeah. I mean, when you think about like a crew chief, right? They have to go everywhere the jet goes.
Okay.
So if the pilots are going wherever to train, we have to go with them,
That makes sense.
which is cool, good for us.
So are you assigned to certain jets, or is it a squadron? Like,
Yeah.
how does it work for you?
So like you have each jet has a dedicated crew chief and an assistant dedicated crew chief.
Okay.
So like, I was Staff Sergeant Peterson, dedicated crew chief on aircraft 244,
Okay.
assistant dedicated crew chief, blah blah blah, which was one of my troops.
So as a dedicated crew chief, that's your jet,
Yeah.
technically. It's not does the pilot consider it his? Because
Their names are on it too.
I mean, but he's just the driver. I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing everything.
right. And as a dedicated crew chief, I never worked on my own jet
Why?
because once I became a 7-level staff sergeant, like I was in charge of I was one of the lead 7 levels on the shift. So like I was in charge of everything not in charge of everything going on, but like I had to go and help on all the jets because I had to sign off all the forms. And I was an engine run qualified guy, which was fucking cool.
Yeah.
Hop in and start her up,
Oh, you get
let her
to?
buck.
Really?
Yeah, take her to the trim pad. You put her on a holdback tool and throw it in the burner.
What's that like?
It's a good time.
Really?
Yeah.
How loud is it?
Loud. I mean, the inside it's loud. The outside it's obviously
Deafening.
It's deafening. Yeah, but it's a good time. I mean, it's a riot. And they're trusting 25-year-old guys to hop in there and let her rip.
And you can just and take
Yeah.
off if you wanted to.
Yeah. yeah.
I mean, if you were one of them.
Yeah, I'd be like that Horizon Airline guy a couple years ago.
Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna put her down
Yeah,
now.
no. Yeah, I mean, it was a good time. But yeah, when I was a dedicated crew chief, when I was an assistant dedicated crew chief, I worked on my jet mostly.
Got it.
But as you make rank, you just get more responsibilities, like running jets for troubleshooting and repair and signing off red X's for big, heavy maintenance jobs. And so you're kind of just bouncing around the flight line.
Now, if you blow an engine on a jet, how long does it take to pull and replace a pack on it?
Oh boy, we could do it in half a shift.
You could put a new jet engine in, pulled and put in a new jet engine on a half a shift.
Yeah, I would say like if we were like in a combat zone and it was like we weren't in training environment, yeah, that'll happen like pretty quick. It's not hard to take it out. You do an engine bay inspection, you get that signed off, throw in the new one, button her up, give her a run, and
Really?
I don't know, maybe 6 hours.
Who tests this? Like the pilots, like after they get a new engine, they're like, all right, sir, everything checks the box.
By the time they show up, it's all done. Like then they're just getting in and going.
And they're trusting everything.
Yeah, yeah,
That blows my mind.
yeah.
I can't wrap my head around that these guys just get in and they're like, oh, we just got a new engine in. They're like, yeah, take her for a run. Well, you're the first one.
Let her rip, 0 miles, brand new.
And they're just off in a
Yeah.
billion-dollar jet.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck a jet costs.
Yeah,
100
dude,
million, I
it's-
guess. I mean, what is it? Chris, can you Google how much a F-16 costs?
Google how much an F-15 costs.
An F-15.
But-
They're just trusting you guys.
Yeah, and you know, and I had never really thought of it that way. I've never really thought of it from like an outside perspective.
do
It
you
was
mean
so
that?
normal to me.
Says AB models are 28 million, CD models are 30 million.
Okay.
so-
I mean, that's still a chunk of cash.
Yeah, like
but
Mountain Home has E models. There's not a lot of C models left. There are, but they're the
models are the newer ones.
C models are air to air.
Okay.
They don't hold as much bombs.
Okay.
They're designed for
Yeah.
air to air combat.
F-15EX Eagle,
Yeah,
so that's 90 million.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. They're up there, almost as much of a house in Ada County, huh? Shit.
Fucking A these days, huh? A little shack in downtown Eagle. We can get one for the price of an F-16.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that is crazy to me that you can swap out an engine in one of these jets and they're up and running in the same day.
Yeah.
And nobody's doing and they just trust 100% of it, and they just off they go on a mission.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a whole process to it.
For sure,
right?
there's a
You know,
check.
a lot of eyes look
checks
at it.
and balances,
Right. But yeah, I mean, essentially, it's just like, okay.
have you ever put something together and had extra parts left over or extra bolts?
Dude, I did that the other day on a chicken coop. Fuck.
Right?
Yeah, dude, getting off topic here, I've been out on fires for the last 2 weeks. I get home, my wife's like, "Hey, I got some things I'd like to
Honey-do
get
list.
done around the house." I was like, "Sweet." You know what wasn't on that list?
Chicken coop?
No, hanging out in the garage drinking beer.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, she found me the day when she got home from work,
Drinking beer and
drinking beer in the garage with a completed chicken coop, though,
Right.
and some extra hardware.
once you go chickens, there's no going back.
Dude, it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 14 of them now.
Oh God,
I've been
avoided that.
I'm gonna try to open up an adoption agency for these things.
No. Don't even look at me, man.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I have going with my HOA. They don't allow any of that. which
Neither
is
does
great.
mine.
Really?
They never said anything about it for
Oh,
4 years,
shit.
dude.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I thought I was pushing it with bees, paying all my neighbors off with honey. This is from your backyard. Don't call the HOA.
I put a bee house in my garden earlier this year, and I still don't have a bee living in it.
Oh, I'll get you hooked up this year for next year.
Well, that's just for carpenter bees. It's not.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking the little holes and all the
Yeah.
things. Yeah, those are pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Wasp moved in though.
Oh, did
Fuckers.
they? Yeah, they'll take over anything.
But yeah.
So after you got out, you went back to fighting fires, right?
Essentially, I do I set up weather stations on fires.
Yes. So which is a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so unless we want to top more Air Force stories, which I'm all for all day, but I wanted to because that's when you and I met. You were out setting up these weather stations.
Yeah, in Chalice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long were you in the Air Force for?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
And once you done with your contract, you knew it was time to go.
Yeah. I was just ready to, because I wanted to stay in Idaho.
You wanted to get back.
Yeah. Well, I was already out.
Oh yeah, yeah. You were already in Mountain Home.
But I did 2 years in England.
What was England like?
It was great.
How was the food?
The food was good.
Yeah.
The beer was good. I mean, it was good. What's funny about England is and backtracking a little bit, when I joined the Air Force and I got my job, open general. In boot camp, they give you a list of what's available. An F-15 tactical aircraft maintenance was available, so I just hit that, and that's all I hit.
Yeah.
And apparently that was a needed career field because being a crew chief sucks. It really does. I mean, you're out in the elements. You're out. I mean, it doesn't matter what the weather's doing. You're out there.
And you have all the responsibility.
Right. And so I picked F-15s because I knew Mountain Home had F-15s, and I had all the intention in the world
Coming back.
of getting my first duty station in Mountain Home.
And you went to England.
Right. And I remember being in being in tech school. They're like, "Hey, you all have a briefing tomorrow morning to get your first assignments." I'm like, fuck yeah, sweet. I'd already filled out my dream sheet, Mountain Home. That's all I put down. There's only fucking 5 places to go to as an F-15 crew chief.
And I'm sure not everybody wants to come to Mountain Home.
No,
It's a cool place.
I mean, it's funny because people retire in Mountain Home.
Okay.
Yeah, they get to Mountain Home this place is great. So then they go to Korea just so they can come back to Mountain Home. And so I just put Mountain Home only. I was like, dude, there's no way I'm not going to get Mountain Home. Nobody puts Mountain Home as their dream sheet as a 19-year-old kid from Boston.
Yep.
Right? Everybody wants to go to Kadena
Where's
in
Candida?
Japan. And,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Is that the place to go? Is that
That in
for
England.
you? Okay.
It's cool. So I go to this briefing and they're like, "Hey, when I call your name, come get your packet and sit back down. Don't open up your packet yet. It's your assignment packet." So I grab it and sit down, and he's like, "If your packet's got a yellow slip on it, it means you have an overseas briefing tomorrow." And I was like, fuck, I got a yellow slip.
I am not going to
Not going to mountain home.
No Idaho for me.
Yeah, and so this is how, like, I just didn't know much.
Yeah.
I didn't really look into where my options were. We open it up, it says RAF Lakenheath. I said, what the fuck's RAF Lakenheath? My buddy's like, dude, it's England, man. It's England. Oh, you're so lucky. I'm going to North Carolina. And I was like, no, I don't want to go to England. No, there's no elk in England.
Yeah, right?
How the fuck am I going to fish in England?
Yeah.
And so it ended up being good. I ended up enjoying it and
Yeah.
glad I did it. But when I first got over there, I was like, this place sucks.
Oh, why is
I don't like being over here. This isn't Idaho.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I warmed up to it pretty quick.
Kind of have to.
Yeah, I'm there.
For 2 years?
Yeah.
Or how long were you there?
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, 24 months or whatever. Long tour is what they call it.
Okay.
As an unaccompanied airman
What were you doing there?
in England.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Okay.
I was in the F-15 fighter squadron,
Got it.
494.
And those guys do not deploy, or?
No, they do. My first deployment was out of England.
Oh, okay. And then you came here and deployed.
Yep.
Okay, got
We
it.
also did like some no-notice stuff out of England, which
What's
was pretty
that?
fun. Like, we're gonna go do some shit right now.
Oh, no notice.
Like we were
okay.
just striking distance.
Really?
That's like 4 hours to get somewhere where somebody that's potentially needs to die.
Really?
Yeah.
How often that happen?
Once, just one time, 48 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
And you got to go right now, and then they're just loading everything up,
Yep.
getting everything, all
We
the checks.
We met them in Abbiano, Italy. They loaded up there. They went.
Oh, because you go with the pilots.
Yep.
Oh, I guess that is a pretty badass job. So wherever the pilot goes, I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, you get to go with them.
Yeah. I'll never forget.
Huh.
I'll never forget that one because we left England. We went to Abbiano. The jets met us there. They loaded them up. They went over the country they were supposed to be going over. They did their thing. And then while they were doing that, we just all flew back to Lakenheath because we had to go catch them. And then,
Oh, they weren't coming back. They were
Yeah.
just going to do a loop. And,
Yep.
Okay.
and then I remember one of the pilots getting out. He's like, man, I tell you what, man, ain't nothing better than this. Dropping bombs on people and fucking your wife in one day.
Holy shit.
I was like-
That's why they're the coolest job in the
Yeah, I
world.
was
You
like-
can't deny that it's not the coolest job.
You might have to. I don't know if this is family friendly podcast.
Nah, you're good.
Yeah,
We've talked about way worse. And so, yeah.
But yeah, going back to what I do now.
So, time comes and you didn't re-up. Are they all 6-year contracts or just your initial one was
there was
6-year?
4. You could still do 4. I did the 6 because you get that was like that extra rank incentive,
Okay.
and then just went from there. And then
Yeah.
in 2019 I got out, and I didn't start doing what I do now. I wanted to,
Yeah. What'd you do when you got out?
dude. I worked at Western States Equipment Caterpillar dealership in Meridian there.
Right down the road here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was looking for a job,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed to find one like pretty quick. I wanted to start working while I was on terminal leave still.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a friend that worked there, blah, blah, blah. He got me an interview and like, oh, so like you work with hydraulics on jets, right? I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good with hydraulics. Like, oh great, these things run on hydraulics. I was like,
God.
perfect. So I get thrown into there. What I learned quickly is like, I was an F-15 technician, mechanic. An F-15's an F-15. Everything's the fucking same.
Yeah.
So I go to this fucking cat dealership, and there's every piece of Caterpillar equipment ever that have different everything, different pressures, timings differently.
Oh, God.
Components
I
are
can't even
different.
Imagine.
You know, I was just like, oh, well, fuck. Dude, I last like 9 months there. I was the worst heavy equipment mechanic known that probably have ever worked there.
Really?
Dude, that was awful. I think I finally got good at like one thing, so I just did that every day.
Hey, that's a start. That's a start.
And then I got a contractor job at the FAA at the Mobile Air Traffic Control Tower.
Okay.
Doing mobile air traffic control.
How was
hours.
that? I mean, so you were doing air traffic control.
No, I was just the guy doing the rate, like installing everything and making sure everything worked for these incidents like wildfire. They would take these towers to the wildfire,
Okay.
and then the fire's air traffic would be controlled by that air traffic control tower. And
Okay.
it was just a big utility trailer with antennas.
Yeah.
And then I did that for a year before I got on where I work at now.
And what are you doing now?
So remote weather stations.
Explain this to us.
Yeah.
So fire season rolls around.
Yep.
And obviously it's a shit show out here out
Yeah.
west, especially it being 100 degrees for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, totally.
I think, I got home from Alaska July 5th, and I think we've had like 4 days that were under 100 degrees. Like,
It's brutal.
It's been miserable.
When you look outside, fuck.
It's just smoke.
So, a fire starts, it gets big, and an incident management team takes over.
Okay.
And they order us up, and we set up little weather stations all over so they can get real-time data on like what's going on.
What's the importance of this?
Life and property for the most part.
Okay.
Right? Like, and different, like how aggressive they're gonna get.
The winds or the...
Yeah, they want to know, like, they want to know what's gonna happen. So like, there's an incident meteorologist that is there, like,
Okay.
compiling all this data that these things are spitting out to be like, today is gonna be sporty, or like, you know, today's a good time to get aggressive with this thing, or.
Oh, okay. So like we're not going to have wind. So I mean that's a huge factor
Yeah.
in fighting fires, right?
Totally,
I mean,
yeah.
so this is a huge play. So let's say a fire breaks out.
Yeah.
Are you trying to get towers or stations around it, or the direction it's headed?
So
Or how does it work? Like let's say something breaks out in Salmon.
Right. By the time I get there, this thing's in long-term strategy anyways, right?
So it's not getting put out anytime.
Initial attack's over. It blew up. This thing's burning until the snow flies. That's when we usually come in.
So if a fire starts, how long do they have before on the initial attack of like, okay, it's fucked. This thing's burning until winter.
I think they consider initial attack like the first 32 hours or something like
They
that.
don't have it contained in that amount of time, and
Then it goes into what's called like extended attack.
Okay.
And then from there, it varies, right? Depending on where it's at, what they want to do, what's around it, you know. There's a lot of like political decisions that get made up top that I have no idea.
Like, why are politics involved in fighting fires?
It just like wilderness area, not wilderness area,
Okay.
protected land, not protected land.
BLM versus...
Yeah, Forest Service land, invasive species, spotted owl. It gets into the fucking weeds, dude.
And they're worrying about that shit when, meanwhile, there's hundreds of thousands of acres just burning at a cyclic rate.
At times, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, wildfire is good, to be honest.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like, that's what cleanses, and
Yeah.
that's what brings
Yeah.
so much new growth.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that I actually served with him, and he works for the state now, and he's a forest, whatever. But he was telling me, like, he's like, dude, if they went in and just cleared all this old growth, he's like, as soon as these trees get to a certain age, they stop producing the oxygen. They're pretty
Yeah.
much just sucking up nutrients. He's like, these burns are great.
Dude, if you go to a healthy forest and like you can like look through it,
Oh, for sure.
you can like see through the trees. There's not a lot of shit all over the ground and overgrowth. That's a healthy forest.
Yeah.
You go to some of these other forests, you're like, this is a fucking ticking time.
I mean, look it up at Stanley, dude.
yeah.
You can't see 2 feet into those woods.
I know. I try to find elk in them.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Fuck, dude.
And somehow they get through that shit.
Can't
but
see shit.
yeah, so so when you guys are setting up this stuff, what it goes into, like, the whole, are you guys just on back roads? Like, are you camped out there? Are you staying there the whole time? Are you setting and moving, or what?
Yeah, it just depends. This year I'm doing a lot of setting up and moving just because there's just so many fires. But yeah, we utilize everything. Trucks, UTVs, helicopters.
And how long are you guys up there for?
Like you stay out for about 2 weeks and then you come home and get some days off.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're living up there just monitoring your equipment, or are you just out setting up new stations?
I'm just setting up new shit. Like
Really?
I'm not involved with like the monitoring or the predictive services or the forecasting or anything like that. My job is to show up, work with them to find good locations depending on what they want.
Okay.
You know, maybe they want like some drainage winds, what's going on in the drainage, or what's going on the ridge line, or what's going on where the fire is pushing towards is a big thing.
Interesting.
What are the conditions over there? Because that's where it's headed.
And everything goes off of what these towers are telling them.
Yeah. I mean, not everything, but weather-wise, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean by
Yeah.
the everything is. They're able. Is it? How quick does that update? Is it seconds?
Every 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, every 15 minutes it transmits new data.
And it just goes to a room full of guys that are way smarter than us that are reading this and trying to figure out the plan to
Yeah.
get ahead of this fire.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and then but like I said, I'm moving around a lot to different fires to do the same thing over and over.
How much where's all this equipment? Are you taking the equipment with you, or is it just like you show up, they have the equipment, and you're grabbing what you need, and then
A lot of times I take it with me, and then on the initial one, and then I hit the next fire, and then they're gonna they send it. Boise sends it to me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's all you're doing, huh?
Yeah.
How many miles are you putting on?
Oh man.
I take it like you can just hike your ass off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty good hiker. But mostly, if I can get a UTV there, I'm fucking taking the UTV.
Oh, 100%.
Or the helicopter.
Yeah, 100%.
Anytime I can push the easy button, I'm doing it.
For sure. I don't know why that would not be an option.
Yeah, and we've done some hikes, but not. I mean, if it's more than a mile up a mountain, we're gonna take a helicopter.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, that's a lot of.
What gear? I mean, I'm picturing like this giant box with a big antenna tower.
I can show you a picture.
Yeah.
My phone's over there.
Oh, all right. I just want to grab it. I mean, is it pretty mobile, I take it?
Yeah.
Could you pack all this in or?
Yeah.
Really?
So.
You're talking like the little spoons that spin in the wind and all these little sensors and all that stuff?
Yep.
And you just run in, how long does it take for you to set something up once you're on the ground?
Like 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, no shit. Okay. That's not what I was picturing by any means. And that's just the fire right there, huh?
Yeah.
How many of these get burned up?
Not a lot.
Really?
Maybe I don't think we've had one in like 2 years.
Are you usually ahead or beside the fires? Like where's your position, or is it all over?
It's all over. Just depending on what they're looking for. Like I said, I put them in the black.
What do you mean the black?
Like it's like where it's already burnt.
Oh, how's that? You're just covered in shit all day, huh?
It's just like snags and trees everywhere and stuff.
Ugh.
But a lot of times it's like ahead of the fire, around the fire. You know, fire's here. We're hanging out to
all the peaks.
To the high points.
That's what you guys are looking for. So let's say there's a burn cutting through somewhere. You're just trying to get all the peaks ahead of it.
Yep.
And that's where the best wind or the best data comes from?
Yeah, and then like a lot of times the drainage bottoms are a big thing. You get a lot of like terrain influenced winds. So like up top, the winds might be coming out of the south.
For sure.
Down in the drainage, they might be just swirling.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no consistency to them. So they're going to want to know like what that wind's doing at all times because that's what's driving this thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're playing the thermals on as much as you can?
Right. Yeah, we're trying to get at like, you know, they definitely want to know when the wind is going to shift.
How do you predict it?
Some I don't know, actually meteorology. Like
right.
Yeah, like some meteorologist that's way smarter than I am figures that out. But I mean, you know, as hunters, right? You know, we know the wind shifts mid-morning to early afternoon.
And then that evening, as soon as that sun drops,
shifts again. So
how much? Okay, so here's a question for you. Learning all this and being in the mountains all the time, how much do you get to scout?
Oh, dude, I scout all the time. Yeah, like when I love going on fires outside Stanley.
Okay.
Because I hunt up there a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, dude, one time I was on a fire and I like went to where I was going to camp and like pitched a tent. It was like September fire.
You brought in all your shit with you?
Just a tent, just to hold the spot.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a cheat code.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, like we found some places.
I bet you have some honey holes, huh?
Fuck, I don't even know if those exist anymore, dude.
I know.
It's like, fuck, everywhere you go, there's somebody.
How much has it changed
I blame
here?
Onyx.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an incredible tool.
I love it.
It's such I don't even know how I would function without it.
Yeah. How did we kill things before all this? I always wonder.
Cross fence lines and didn't have social media to bust you when you were poaching.
I don't know. Dude, I say this all the time. I don't know how anybody ever killed anything with a 30-06 and a 3x9 scope on it.
You look at these old school trophies, like these old school pictures when like dudes weren't even smiling, they're holding like some 280-inch muley. It's like, how did that
They got jeans and flannels on.
Yeah.
Right?
Like cowboy boots and dudes holding them 200-inch mule deer. I'm like, how?
Yeah. How did we do it before Kuyu? I don't understand.
Right? now these guys, look, my tent. My tent weighs too much. I can't pack it in. And it's like,
dude, weight snobs.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know a couple of those.
I am the opposite of a weight snob. I will suffer. I will absolutely suffer and be miserable to pack in comfort things.
Dude.
Like all day.
This fucking conversation's going all over the place, but I love
really
it.
Is.
I was hunting one time on a rifle hunt, and like I was like, man, my fucking pack's heavy, dude. What I got in this thing? I had a release from archery season. I had a magazine of a pistol that I didn't even have.
A rock that you picked up, thought it was cool, never took out of your bag.
Dude,
like
I had like just, and my buddy's like, why are you carrying around all that stuff? I was like, I don't know, man.
It's here now.
Like, do you even have that pistol? Oh, I don't even own that pistol anymore.
like, I've been looking for
I
that.
got a loaded mag of
looking for this
hollow
mag.
points that I don't even have anymore.
Some 10 mil. You're like,
like
that's hilarious. You did a lot. I mean, did you always hunt when you were a kid growing up, or did you get into it?
Yeah, I've hunted all growing up. Yeah.
Have you seen Idaho change? I mean, how much has it changed people wise?
Dude, it's changed so much that like I remember like just back in like 2016, I used to hunt. I used to do an extra whitetail hunt up in North Idaho, and I remember like going to Fred Meyer and just buying I'd have to pay out of state prices, buying an out of state whitetail only tag, and then just leaving the next day to go hunt whitetail in North Idaho.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm a transplant, and but damn, like even when we got here, like I remember buying. You'd get your archery tag or whatever elk tag, and then I would just go buy. I'd pay the $400 for a non-res tag.
Totally.
I had 2 tags. Always bear. I mean, I guess bears is the same. You can always get 2 bears, but like now those aren't even options anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like social media is great, right? Like Instagram's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like the hunting world's blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because of social media.
Huge part of it.
And I think COVID didn't help either. So
COVID ruined absolutely, at least for my areas and stuff. Like take spring bear. I've been hunting these areas for years.
yeah, and you got some spots.
and dialed.
Yeah.
And then now I'm going up there and there's blue-haired people and there's like trench coat kids that are just leaving shit. And I'm picking up all their trash. And I'm like, what? And ever since, and that was during COVID. It was like the weirdest people in the mountains.
Dude.
It just ruined everything. And it's like, why? I would go places where I've never seen it. I'm like, what in the fuck are you doing here? Like,
Are we allowed to talk about other podcasts on a podcast?
yes.
Dude, so there's this guy named Hank Patterson.
Okay.
He's a fly fishing guy. It's like Hank Patterson is like his alter ego, right? And he just does like super funny, like he's a funny dude.
Yeah.
Great fly fisher. So right after COVID, he did this like funny video, and he's like, dude, we have a whole new pandemic amongst ourselves, folks. He's like, the indoorsy people are going outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
That's
like, and they're
true.
fucking everything up, basically.
I mean, dude, you're on the mountain and the guy comes around a corner in like a Mercedes. I'm like, what are you doing out here?
And, and I try to be a better person and be like, you know what? Everybody enjoys to be on the outside.
For sure.
Right? Except you. Okay.
Yeah, get the hell
Fuck
out of
outta
here.
here,
Except for
right?
my area.
Yeah. You can't hunt.
You can have the whole state except for right here. This is my area.
Yeah. And like I said, going back to, do I have any honey holes? I mean, I got spots where I can go find stuff, but gosh, I can't remember the last time I didn't see another rig on a road.
Mm-hmm. Or 10 trucks at a trailhead now.
Yeah.
It's like, God dang, like I don't just kind of just takes the fun out of it.
It does.
And then you hear these guys and they're all bitching about it, and it's like, well, that's why.
Yeah.
I have a guy that comes into one of my spots, and dude, we're sitting there on bear bait with these kids that are, that's why I have some of these areas, bringing kids and guys that are battling cancers or disabled. These guys will just come tromping through there right in shooting hour. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we're hunting here too. And I'm like, you guys walk right through here. Like,
yeah.
They just, the etiquette. That's what bugs me. I'm all for everybody being in the mountains.
100%.
It's the disrespect
Yep.
with the trash. I watched this dude 2 years ago, or maybe it was last year, and I did a video on him, and a lot of people kind of have backlashed on it, and I'm like, the worst people on the mountain are these hippie camping, overlanding. They're the absolute trash of the mountains.
Yeah.
The Subaru drivers, the ones that are the peace love, vegan granola eaters, are the absolute worst human beings on the mountain. They leave so much trash. They shit everywhere. Don't bury anything. They mounds. I mean, I watched this guy and I looked him up because he had his name. I should have kept it because after I was like, oh God, I just knew he had this completely renovated van. This is during COVID.
Right.
And you could tell he was living out of it. And he had his social media name, and I looked it up. And he's just like, just blows up spots and all that shit. And he sat there for, I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 days. I passed him every single day. And then one day his van's gone. And on my way back out, I just wanted to roll in and see. And dude, I filled a giant, those big industrial black trash bags.
Yeah.
Filled one full of trash. And he just, the amount of trash that was there was disgusting. It was so disrespectful. I did everything I could to remember this dude's social. I was going to put him on blast. And I couldn't fucking remember it. But I did a story with like this. I'm like, these are the people, the ones that hate what we do as hunters, outdoorsmen. We're the ones ruining the mountains, right? We're the ones ruining the outdoors because we're out hunting animals. Meanwhile, you get some Subaru that just leaves all of their trash. It's like, dude, you didn't just shit in a spot. He shit all over the campground. Like, It wasn't even a campground. It was just like a pull-off. And there was toilet paper and turds everywhere. Beer cans. You could tell he was just chucking beer cans. And here's this
Fucking
influencer.
hazy IPAs.
They were all IPAs, bro. Like, and I'm just like, and like, this is the dude. And you go on the social and you're talking about he hates everything we're about, preaching, oh, peace and love in the mountains. But they leave so much shit. And that's not all of them. And it's like, it is you, because I'm the one that's breaking down tents that are left there. They're up for 3 weeks. And finally I get to the point where I'm like, fuck, I take it with me.
Yeah.
Tires and trash and all stapling their signs for their party. And then they leave and leave all of their signs stapled.
They leave their plastic paper plate on the tree that says Walker Camp or whatever.
The arrows point. Dude, I have a thing with my kids. Even if it's fresh and we know and we're behind somebody, we tear every one of them off the tree.
What's also like amazes me sometimes is, a lot of it's like, and I know a lot of people are like backpackers, right? But like the amount of wildfires that are started by the people that are like,
yes,
because they were like they didn't want to bury their shit paper, so they're gonna burn it instead,
and it blows away.
And then all of a sudden, South Lake Tahoe's on fire. That happened 2 years ago.
Yep.
That moose fire in Salmon a couple years ago, rafters.
That was a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, helicopter crash, killed the pilots. Started by rafters, which I don't have anything against the rafting community.
No, but
I
it's
got buddies that are rafters.
oh, dude, rafting's one of the greatest
You would
things.
think that those people would be like fire-wise, right? Like, hey, you gotta start a campfire, put that motherfucker out.
And it's so easy, and it spreads so fast.
Well, that's why when these big fires happen from human-caused fires, that's why they get so big, is because where they're started. Right? You got to think about lightning, right? Lightning strikes like ridge lines. Lightning starts a lot of fires, and some of them do get big. But when a human starts a fire, it's like at the bottom of a drainage.
So it burns up. Never considered that.
Yeah. And that's just my take on it.
Never considered that. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I just blamed it all on lightning, especially this time of the year when we get those heat storms.
Yeah, I mean, lightning starts a fuck ton of fires, don't get me wrong. But like human fires are the ones that usually go a little bit bigger because they're usually started somewhere where it's not ideal for a fire to start.
Interesting.
So
never put those pieces together. Yeah, it's crazy, man, of like the different demographics that are in the mountains now. And like I was saying, I love everybody. Like, dude, this is why you come to these states, because we have more public land than like, this is why I don't live in Texas. I want to be able to grab my kids, go to the mountains, fish, shoot, hike, camp, whatever we want. I don't have to pay for it. I can, chop down a dead tree, or, obviously when fire season, we got to do things the smart way. I'm all for it. Yeah. But it's the disrespect that is what sends me 0 to 100. Yeah. Is because I have, I'm not even an Idahoan. I'm not a native Idahoan. Right. Like, I'm from upstate New York. I have so much pride in where you live, and that's how everybody should do it. Yeah. When I'm following you off the mountain and you throw something out of your window, we are going to have some serious words. Yeah, dude. Like, it's just like, preserve your public lands, right? And they're the first ones to bitch when things get shut down. It's just like when you go out here to Pleasant Valley or whatever. It's a mess. And these guys are all bitching about, they're going to shut it down. Dude, you drug a boat out here and blew it up with 20 pounds of tannerite. Now it's scattered hundreds of yards in each direction. No shit, they're going to shut this down. You're shooting at a washing machine. Yeah. Like, you're shooting towers. Like, no shit, you're going to have this shut down. And that's where my problem is with it. Yeah. It's the off-road vehicle thing, like dirt bikes on closed trails. I think every trail should be open, but I get it at the seasons. I 100% get it. The Jeepers now the Onyx has the Jeeping, the off-roading trail connector, like that opened up a whole nother nightmare. But it comes down to me, and hey, if that's you're into it, do it. Right? Like, if you're gonna do it, do it. It's the disrespect, right? Like our lands, and like that's what I have zero patience for, is people leaving shit anywhere. There's some places where I hunt, and like I use my dirt bike a lot. Right, if there's an open single track trail that's gonna get me 5 miles in, I'm taking it all day. But then there's a lot of trails that are closed, like you just said. So I walk my happy ass on that trail for 5 miles, and then I'm up on a ridge and I hear a fucking motorcycle coming down it. I'm like, you just get to ignore everything. You're just better than us, aren't you? Dude, one of my first experiences here in the backcountry, I was hunting with a couple of buddies of mine, and my buddy comes up from Utah, and he's got these mules. Crazy fucking mules, right? Like these things, like they trail each other out. Like they're phenomenal. It's all this dude does with them. I am not a cowboy. I don't spend time on horses, and so we're doing like 10, 12 miles a day, and I'm on this fucking mule, and my wife dies laughing every time I mention it because I felt like Jean-Claude Van Damme, like doing the splits, like it was so wide.
Yeah.
My hips are just on fire. And so, but we're back there and we're finding deer, and I'm having the time of my life. I end up shooting 2 bucks, like both of them over like 830 yards each, like 2 days in a row. It was awesome, right? But we're back there grinding it out. We're on horses and mules, and I mean, it's just vertical. I mean, we're climbing all day to get to these spots, and all of a sudden, we come across these dirt bikes. And I gotta have my buddy on to tell this story. I just don't want to air his shit out. But his mule, these dirt bikes parked there, and he looks back at me, and I don't know what's going on. Like, this is my first like backcountry horse trip. This mule, all on its own, he says, turns toward this dirt bike, walks up to this dirt bike, literally kicks this dirt bike over and just stomps the fuck out of this dirt bike like it was some wolf or mountain lion. Like it was like a predator. Like this mule is like all 4 toes, like hooves together, like stomping this thing out, crushes his dirt bike. I'm dying laughing. Like I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And we keep going.
Yeah.
And we get down to the trailhead, and it did not help that we were camping like right at the base of this trailhead. And this guy comes down on his dirt bike, and oh my God, all hell broke loose. And he's just nut, mother of the fucking kill you. Like he's going on. But there's this giant sign.
I was gonna say, were you even allowed to have dirt bikes back?
No, it was all,
Fuck him.
it was, yeah, exactly. We're like, dude, it's closed down. Like, you're the asshole.
Yeah.
Not us. Like, but it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, like, I get it. And at the same time, where we were like getting off, tying up, and we would try to sneak and put place, these dudes were just tearing everything up. And it's like, you're ruining it for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for utilizing all the tools,
100%.
the dirt bikes, the e-bikes, the 4-wheelers, the everything,
Use it.
where they're allowed to be used. And if they're not, walk.
What's the biggest problem you see now in the mountains?
Problem?
With people and then the numbers of people now?
Like, nobody giving a fuck if, like, you're camped right there. Fuck, I'm camping right here. You're hunting up there, so am I. Like, dude, Unit 39 is a great unit.
Is the best unit, and
Yeah,
everybody should hunt.
Everybody
should hunt Unit 39.
Come on up, hunt Unit 39. It's north.
39 is just...
It's in northern Iowa.
It is a target-rich environment.
Yeah.
If you're going to put in for any elk tags, you put in for 39.
But my fucking buddy was hunting that one time, and like, he's like, pulls up. He's got his ridge line. He's gonna go up or go down. He was hunting downhill like a fucking ding dong, and he's sitting there waiting for the sun to come up so he can start walking. And like another truck pulls up like right down the way, and another truck pulls up, and then all of a sudden there's like headlamps all up along this road, and there's like one place to go. So he just starts going. Well, then they start going, and then they start going, and then he's running. And then the sun comes up and he spots out, but everybody else spotted him too. And like he's sprinting down the ridge line to get to these elk. He ends up beating them all and shooting one.
No shit.
But I was like, dude, that's not even
I think that's not fun to me.
Yeah. Like if I'm driving on a road and I was like, I got this specific spot in mind that I'm going to hunt with this specific ridge line, and there's a truck right there, and there's some dudes in a headlamp getting like gearing up.
They beat me to it.
Fuck, next ridge, or I got another
I lost.
spot. Yeah.
I 100%. Dude, I don't know how many times I've had it happen where you show up and you're like, fuck. Like, I haven't seen anybody here all season. Like, okay, they got me.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, my buddy and I were going up a ridge. We parked the truck, headlamps beep bopping up of it. I hear a vehicle come back, park right behind my truck. I hear doors get out. I look behind me. There's headlamps coming right up at us. I just stood there. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like,
where do you go? Anywhere else?
There's probably deer over there, too.
Yep.
You know?
I had it.
Going back to your question, like, I think that I see that problem a lot. Like, just no regards for, like, somebody else's rig at the bottom of it. And I'm sure people are like, well, it's public land. You don't own that ridge line. Well, I know I don't.
I know, but it's etiquette.
Yeah.
I was a couple years ago hunting, and I'm hunting at a truck, and I'm up on a ridge. I'm parked. I'm out sitting glassing, and I found this buck, and it was a shooter buck. And I'm sitting on it, and then this truck pulls up, and I'm like waving him off. I'm like, hey, like, I'm sitting here, fuck off.
Yeah.
And where I peeled off, like there's a main road that keeps going, and there's all these fingers, ridges. I mean, you have miles of open. And they sit there for like 15 minutes as I'm glassing this deer, and it's bedded, and I'm waiting for it to move. I was trying to, you know how it is. You're just waiting to see
Right.
if it's like worth going after or not.
Right.
These guys get out and they're watching where I'm watching, and they all start glassing in the exact same direction. And they picked they had to have found it, and and I'm watching, and now all of a sudden they're moving with urgency, and so they're trying to like get down this ridge, and they're literally get out. And they see the deer that I'm glassing. I have my rifle. I could have shot it from there. I didn't have a shot, but like it was within range. But
Right.
it was in this brush, and I was trying to pick it out. This dude takes off hauling ass, like down in this ravine, and trying to get around it. And the deer like stands up, and it's like, no, something's up. Dude, I got in the prone and I ripped 3 rounds off, and I let that deer fucking run till it was gone.
Yeah.
I waited for that guy to get all the way down to the bottom. And I was like, if you're gonna play this game, like I'll play it with you.
Yeah.
And it was just, I'm just like, and I look at these guys, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, public land. I'm like, I get it, it's public land.
Yeah.
Just don't be a douchebag
Yeah.
on public land. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. And like, fortunately, for every one of those assholes that I come across, I do come across some people that
There
are
are
like
some pretty good guys.
some good dudes that are like, I had a, I had a bull tag this year, in 2019. I showed you this years ago. I killed a 367 bull with this same tag that I had this year.
Yep.
I was glassing the same spot. I can glass from the road, and I can see where those bulls walk out at. And I'm like in my spotting scope, and a truck comes along. I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want to be looking up there. I'm
Yep.
like, turn my spotting scope across the road. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
The guy cruises by, and it's some old timer and his grandson, and they're looking for deer,
Yeah.
like any deer. It's a youth hunt. They're like, hey, we're just looking for deer. I was like, oh, nice. He's like, what, you got an elk tag there? He's like, there's a monster bull up there on that. He's like, you're looking on the wrong side of the road. And I was like, well, actually, I'm not. But he's like, the last 2 nights I've seen a nice bull come out of that tree line. I was like, yeah, that's where I'm looking. He goes,
Yeah.
he's like, looks around. He's like, well, there's nobody here. So yeah, he's like telling me, and I was like, I've been watching those elk, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, I was like, what are you guys up to? He's like, I'm looking for a doe for my grandson. First deer, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
And I was like, my camp was right there. I was like, dude, if you walk 100 yards behind my camp, they're there. So they get out, whop,
Yep.
come dragging back. He's like, hey, good luck with your hunt. Drives away, right? Like, so, I mean,
Yeah.
I do have some good encounters
Yeah.
as well, but I have the fucking dickheads too.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the good outweighs the bad. It's just the bad that sticks to you. Like I had a bull tag out in Arizona, and I was, went in completely blind. It was a last minute thing. Dude, I started asking. I put it out on social, like, "Hey, has anybody got?" And dude, the amount of response, and like, I would run into these guys. I mean, this is a really good bull tag unit.
Yeah.
Where you think these guys are gonna be? And I would run into them, and I have Idaho plates, and I'm clearly an out-of-stater, and which you always hate it,
Right.
And then everybody hates an out-of-state person, but when it's a California plate, everybody hates that
Yeah.
person. So even if those out-of-staters from like Wyoming are here,
Yeah.
Everybody hates the Californian, and
Totally.
you forget about the non-residents that.
It's like when all the branches are fucking with each other and like picking on each other, but then the Coast Guard comes in and everybody just turns and yells.
Yes, in the hunting industry,
Yeah.
the Californians are the Coast
Coast
Guard.
Guard.
And so everybody hates them, or the bicyclists on the highway.
Dude.
Everybody.
Death wish or what?
Dude, right? But these guys were great, man. They were. I mean, I had guys stopping, and I'd bullshit with them, like they're like, "Oh, from Idaho." I'm like, "Yeah, just I'm trying to figure it out." And they'd be like, "These guys were pulling up on it. They were dropping pins for me."
Yeah.
I had guys reaching out, like, "My grandpa's hunted this unit for his whole life." Like, I mean, it was awesome. It was really. And I was talking to my buddy. I was like, "Dude, it's the weirdest shit I've ever run into. I've never had like." An area be so welcoming, and at first I'm like, these dudes are just sending me on a wild goose chase.
Yeah.
But I had like 3 or 4 guys be like, hey, you need to really focus in this area, and so it was all like within this one pocket in this unit, and so then I started putting pieces together. I mean, I ended up killing my best bull, but it was awesome. I mean, the guys in that area were super open and like, hey, yeah, try this and do this, and I think if you show the respect,
Totally.
you go in there with the same like, hey, dude, like, sorry, I didn't know you guys were in here. Like, I'll back out. I've done that so many times where I've come up on people like, hey, what way are you headed?
Make a plan.
Where you know how it is. You call in somebody else with an elk, and then you got some guy come running in, and you're like, "Shit, okay, where are you headed?" I do that so many times.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I don't want to screw with you, especially if there's a party or they got a kid with them. Like, I'll go.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go the opposite direction. I have no problem with it. I think that's what we need to get back to. I feel like obviously social media, it's all about creating content and trying to be keep up with the Joneses, and you put aside all of the etiquette and the everything that you've known as a hunter, and then again, there's a lot of guys that are just getting into it and have no idea the etiquette behind it.
Yeah.
That's a whole other part of
with
it.
social media too, it's like if you have a social media hunting page, and I think we both know who those people are,
Yep.
and they get a tag wherever, they're getting tips left and right.
Oh,
Like,
I know it, dude.
like, yo, I got a tag here. Oh, well, there's big bucks here and there's big bulls there, and then they just go and kill them. Like, oh, they're great hunters. Well, they're
100%.
good listeners.
They're good looking. Exactly. And they're really lucky. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had it happen to me where I've showed up places, people are like, dude, you need to go here.
Yeah.
And we've done it and showed up and like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Why did this guy give us
Why
this?
in the fuck would he tell me that? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm saving that on X.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
be back. It's crazy, but and that's another part of it is you get these whitetail guys that come out and they're celebrity hunters and they get these things that are kind of like just walked right in. Here you go, and then they put it out everywhere, and it's like, oh my God. Like I know a guy that he's always in trouble for something. Always in trouble. He's got a ginormous following. He'll just show up to places, and like I had to call him one day. I was like, dude, stop fucking mentioning Idaho in every one of your posts.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm like, stop.
Is he from Utah?
No, different guy. This guy's from the Midwest. He's a whitetail guy, but he just comes out and then they start putting everything on the map and pinning and showing skylines. And I'm like, dude, this is why people hate this stuff, And it's like I lie my ass off. I say Colorado for everything. It's Colorado spring bear.
Yeah.
There's not even a spring bear season. I'm tagging Colorado.
Yeah.
The best thing that I love trolling with people in the hunting side of things is, when I shoot a bear or setting baits, and I'll be like, hunt Colorado. And
Yeah.
I'll get so many messages, and people are like, how do you hunt Colorado? How do you have a spring bear tag?
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, and this was a thing for a while. I had this whole copy and paste. I'm like, hey, listen, you got to go in the fishing game before the season starts. You got to ask for depredation tags. Bears are a nuisance in Colorado. Since it's so green, they don't put things out, but if you ask, they'll give you tags.
Oh man, I wonder how many calls they got.
I never had anybody come back and tell me this, but like guys are like, I lived in Colorado. Like, how the hell you get a tag? And I just go to fishing game and ask.
Yeah.
And I'd say that all the time just to
Dude.
fuck with people.
Well, it's funny we mentioned the social media aspect of hunting, right?
Yeah.
And like my father-in-law's a guide in Nevada.
Yeah.
He has been for a long, long time. And he used to come up to Idaho and hunt often, like in the Frank Church and stuff, horseback trips, like back in the 80s.
That's big boy country.
Yeah. And so before social media, it was magazines. He still says it. He goes, that used to be a great unit until all these magazines came out.
Oh, hunting fool.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
what's the Eastman's?
Eastman,
Eastman's ruined it. I've heard guys say
put all
this.
these things in the magazines, and now everybody wants to come out west and go hunt.
Because it got
Yeah.
published,
Yeah,
ruined,
and be like,
blew the whole area out.
Somebody should show him Instagram because they're
my
really fucking it
God,
up.
He would have he would probably just keel over and just not have a good day with that shit. Dude, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, dude, I know this storyline really didn't go anywhere, but it was fun.
No, that's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
That's what Chris and I, we say this every single time, man. It's like what I really like about this podcast and what we're doing is just a conversation.
Yeah.
There's no like directed, at least now where we're at in the stages of it and the infancy. I mean, we're still figuring shit out ourselves, but it's like, dude, I had no idea about what goes on in the air, that the Air Force is divided into two different categories, and what goes on for a crew chief for a fighter pilot,
Right.
or a fighter jet. And so that's what I really like about, and that's what I enjoy the most about
Right.
sitting down with
Yeah.
guys and just hearing, I want some more wildland firefighter stories. I don't know if you've ever had any close calls or anything, but like that's what I really enjoy about this is just hearing different people's point of views, stories, opinions, like their life, where they started from, where they came from, and just that's what I really get from this. And like the feedback that we get, it's like, dude, you're just having conversations and people are able to relate to that in some way, shape, or form. Like we have guys that I've had on here that were told, some pretty tore up vet stories. And we've had civilians, like I've had guys email and DM me like, dude, I've never served, but I've never been able to relate and to be able to think that I can relate to what veterans have gone through, but like blue collar guys that are in trenches with dudes. I had a guy message me and he's like, dude, we had a trench collapse and I lost 3 of my best friends in a trench.
Yeah.
And he's like, but well, listening to this guy and what he's gone through, he's like, I felt the exact same way, but I'm not a veteran.
Right.
So like that's what's cool about it. And so like everybody, we have this joke now. Like we literally every single person that walks through this door is like, man, I don't think I'm cool enough. And it's like That's the point of this.
Yeah.
It's just everyday people with extraordinary stories, things that they've done, things they've accomplished. Like that. That's what I enjoy about doing this podcast and sitting down with whoever and anybody.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you reaching out. Anytime I'll come on and bullshit for
Dude,
an hour or so.
absolutely. I would love to have you. And so we got to do some fishing.
We'll definitely do some fishing. We do.
That's kind of your thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I would love fly fishing. Yeah.
Let's get into fly fishing real quick then before we wrap it
Yeah,
up.
definitely.
We don't have to give any spots.
Yeah.
Fly fishing is a very,
Dude, it's fucking yuppie.
yeah.
Just say that. I'll just be a little vulgar about it, man. They're stuck up.
It's a weird,
Yeah.
it's a weird demographic of sportsmen. Why?
Man, I don't know. Like, I always wanted to fly fish growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was always like, no, you're not fly fishing. I know fly fishers. You're not one of them. I'm not one of them. We will not do that. And there's like this big like battle between fly fishermen and bait fishermen.
Yeah.
That like the fly fishing world is so stuck up that like they don't have use any of the same terminology. So
I've noticed this.
So like if you're fishing with a spinning rod, right, and you got a bobber on there, you wait for that thing to go, and you set the hook. We use bobbers in fly fishing all the time. They call them strike indicators,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because
And then
we don't
yeah.
fish for bass.
you know, because you fish subsurface with a fly rod, you know,
Yeah.
and you have a little strike indicator on there, and it goes under the water, and you set the hook. It's a fucking bobber.
It's 100% a bobber.
And like, when I first got into it, like 5 years ago, I was like, I need some split shot so I can get some depth quicker. So I go to the fly shop, and I was like, hey, you guys got split shot here? Like, we don't sell split shot. We have depth assisters, lead free.
No.
Like, whatever, dude. It's a split shot. Give me a pack of them.
Lead free.
Yeah, like, and but yeah, it is. But you know, more and more people like myself are like getting into fly fishing. Like, you know, it's like the archery. It's like
It is.
the archery of fishing, and it's awesome, and I really enjoy it. But like, I hate
The community.
the
Not the community,
yeah,
but like the
just
stigma that comes
the
with it.
stigma that comes with it. Like but it's a great way to catch a fish, and it's a riot.
It's fun and it's a great fight.
And we can get out on the river, and we can do some fly fishing, and we can do a podcast episode and drink beers by the river.
Do you tie your own flies?
No, I don't have the steady hands or the technology to pull off a procedure like that.
Yeah, I got some buddies that do.
Yeah, I have a good buddy that does as well, and I use his flies.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. Is I don't even know where to start with
Yeah.
it. I think what I love about the fly fishing community is everybody is so like they're so sensitive. You don't take it out of the water, and then you have some motherfucker in a plane that's like, and just dumps a belly full of planes as they're flying over some lake at 10,000 feet,
6-inch trout.
just falling
Yeah.
hundreds of feet through the
Yeah.
air into this lake, and they're like,
Yeah.
whatever makes it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like, you know, I like to take the fish out of the water and take a picture,
Yeah.
just like everybody else, and like I don't throw it back into the river, but
No, I know.
let it back in. But yeah, there's some people like won't even take it out of the net.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And my buddy was telling me a story. He was scouting one summer, and he was like, "Dude, he's like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I had a client that drew this like amazing sheep tag, and he's like, I'm living in this lake. Like, there's not even like campsites around this lake." And he's like, all of a sudden this plane comes in and it's like buzzing and it's getting lower every time. He's like, I'm watching it, and all of a sudden it just dumps these fish. And he goes, this dude dumped like 50, 60% of the fish ended up in the woods. Like, he's like, they were strung. There's trout strung 100 yards through the woods.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I went through and picked up all the giant ones. And he's like, I skinned them things out. He's like, I ate trout for like 3 days. He's like, I smoked it.
Yeah.
He's like, it's hilarious because he's like, here with our state, all our state dollars are going into like
Totally.
replanting these endangered species. And
Feeding the bears.
exactly. This plane just dumps half of it.
But yeah, dude, I love fly fishing. I don't like the stigma that come with it. Like a lot of fly fishers are gear snobs, and this is going to be a debate.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're riding around in like their Toyota Tacomas with their rod holders on the top all year long, and like people just kind of like, I have some buddies that are like, look, they know what they're doing. Probably not.
That's a lifestyle though.
It is.
It's just like overlanding or anything.
Yeah.
Like if you're a fly fishing guy, especially here out west, you have to let everybody. It's like CrossFit,
Dude.
You have to tell everybody that you fly fish
Yeah.
I love the dudes that have the rod holder on the front, like on the nose, like on the bow.
Yeah.
I'd say the bow, but the nose of the truck. Where
Yeah.
it holds it. It
Yeah.
comes up over the.
But they're great tools. I have them when I fish. I put them on and then put the rod on and then I fish and then I break everything down and put it all back into the pickup and then
goes
go home,
away.
and I go home. You know? Yeah, it's definitely like a CrossFit. Like they just talk about it, which is fine. Right? It's
Oh,
their jam,
100%.
whatever.
It's a great sport, dude. I love it. I really enjoy it. I really got into fly fishing, but I kind of got into the cheating way. When I broke my teeth on fly fishing was up in Canada
Yeah.
for northerns. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
and it's just like every freaking cast you were just ripping in a giant northern. So that's what got me hooked.
Yeah.
Like, so like I have like a fishing bucket list, but I have a fly fishing bucket list. Like there's certain fish I want to catch.
You got
on
to
a
start
fly.
chasing Idaho steelhead on a fly rod.
I caught a well, it wasn't on a fly rod, but I caught a pretty nice. I think it was like 32-inch steelhead.
Yeah.
And after I want to say like 18 hours of flipping my fucking
Oh yeah.
and losing probably 100 setups, I felt bad for my buddy. I didn't realize when it went into steelhead fishing. He's been asking me for years to go, and I'm one of those like opportunistic fishermen. Like I'll just go if the time's right, if there's beer involved,
Yeah.
or if it's like, hey, we're gonna catch a lot of fish. I'm in.
Right.
So he's like, dude, when the steelhead are running, it's the greatest thing. And for years, this guy's been bugging me. And finally, I think I got my vasectomy done, and I was like cooped up for a couple of weeks on it. And he hit me at like the most vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
Where I was like, all right, I'll try it.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, we're going to camp out. And I was like, oh, God, like, I don't want to camp for fish. Like, it's just not me. Like, if that's your thing, cool, do it.
Right.
I shut up, and I did it. And I brought a bunch of joints because I knew how the day was going to go. And dude, sure as shit, I sat there like every fucking cast for like the first hour I snagged and broke my line. Like, and he's like, oh, there's a rock in this pocket. You got to get past the rock. And then once I learned, and then finally, dude, I caught one fish and I was like, done.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Check.
Dude, that's the shitty thing about learning how to fish in general, especially like fly fishing, is the amount of frustration there is and just like breaking your line. But again, like that's what makes Idaho like one of the coolest places. Like it's the only landlocked state.
Yep.
You get ocean, steelhead, and salmon.
Yep. I mean, up at Chalice, my buddy where his ranch is, where I was guiding up there.
Yeah.
Dude, you're crossing streams, and we're 1,600 miles from or however.
Steelhead running up it.
There's a salmon. There's a salmon blowing through like 6 inches of water, just blowing through there. And it's like, dude, what did that fish have to do and go through to get to that point?
Yeah.
That's what I find fascinating about these fish.
Yeah, and like people don't even know what like steelhead are.
Nope.
You know, how big's a trout got to be before it's a steelhead? Like, what are you talking about?
I posted the video of me catching that big steelhead, and the amount of hate that I got from the fishing community was I didn't even know what they were accusing me of, because they're like, you don't eat those, they're going to die. And I'm like,
I eat the shit out of them.
that's what I'm saying. Like everybody caught a bunch that weekend.
Yeah,
I was like, I'll take them. It's not the best salmon. It's not some fucking king salmon out of the ocean.
Yeah. I mean, the only ones you put back are the wild fish.
Yeah.
Right? Hatchery
Wild
fish.
And if they start to turn and they're red, like, I'm not going to keep that. This thing was beautiful.
Yeah, eat it up.
I don't know if you're fucking with me or not, but
No.
I kept them. Like,
I will never, and I know this is kind of dragging on, but whatever.
Oh,
I will never get mad at somebody for doing something legal.
Yep.
Right? I can get mad all day long about every fork and horn in the forest getting blasted. That ain't their fault.
Yeah.
It's legal.
Yep.
Right? I can be like, well, I wouldn't do that. But that doesn't mean I can be like, I can't believe you're doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's legal. Like, I can't get mad at someone for doing legal shit.
Yep.
And do I think some of the regulations need to change? Yeah,
sure.
And that's all right. Like that's what I think. But as long as shit's legal and people are doing it legally,
And you're having fun with it.
it ain't my place to say you shouldn't do that.
I couldn't believe the amount of like hate, and these guys were so angry over me catching a steelhead. And I'm like, what the? And I like literally, I sent it to my buddy. I'm like, dude, what do we do wrong in this video? Like, is there something illegal? Like, I put it, like, it went viral on my TikTok. And I'm like, am I going to get a call from? He's like, dude, these people are just assholes. Like, you know. And then to touch on the whole fork and horn thing, like, I was that guy for years. Like, fuck, why are we shooting fork and horns? This is why we don't have any big animals. The only problem that I have with people shooting fork and horns are like these influencers that are doing it for content.
Oh yeah.
And I tell everybody, especially because I get hit up a lot, and I do a lot of hunting clinics. I take a lot of father sons out.
Yeah.
Like, dude, we're doing doe hunts, and they're always like, "Where do we start?" And I'm like, you know where you start? You start by having fun. And if that's shooting a spike, if that's shooting a fork and horn, a doe, do it and learn and don't expect to do it every single year, because then you can't bitch about big deer populations and all that stuff. But like first few years, go out and have the time of your life. But if you're some like muley freak that's shooting just shooting shit to shoot it for content, that's what I have a problem with.
I mean, like whose first deer wasn't a fork and horn? You know,
Mine was a unicorn.
Yeah.
Mine was literally had
Yeah.
one horn, and it was and I still have it at home in New York. And every time I go, I'm like, that was my first deer. You should remember that, and it should be the most fun learning experience that you've ever had. You know,
Right.
do that for several years. And if you're just one of these people who are like, hey, I just need meat in the freezer, and you can't get a doe tag, and that's the only tag you got. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's the people that are trying to like turn it into so. Well, it's not tag soup, or oh, it came down the last wire. Dude, if it came down, you didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
It didn't bring you pleasure. You've already put out 6 videos of your shitty YouTube channel this year shooting dink animals. It's not for the meat. It's not for you because you really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You shot a giant deer the year before. You mean to tell me this fork and horn brought you that much joy?
Yeah.
At least for me, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so that's where with like my kids, like where we're always at, it's like, okay, let's shoot equal or above of what we did the previous year.
Yeah.
And that helps. And it's like, you know, as a kid and my kids get excited over something, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Hammer down on it, especially kids. I do not care what it is, as long as obviously you're legal or not. I could give a shit. If you're getting a kid hooked on hunting because he's filling a tag or something, fucking do it. I'm all for it. It's when it comes down to just doing stuff for content, that's what I have a
Dude,
problem.
when I'm hunting an Idaho general season deer tag, I am the worst at passing up like 3 points.
Oh, for sure.
If this thing is like at its ears and tall,
Burned.
fucking you're done. You know? And I would love to be like, oh, I shot that last year. And I'm gonna do it again this year.
Yeah.
And like general season elk tags, I'll admit,
But you can get
illegal bull, you're done.
But like at the same time, like dude, I have a freezer full of meat, and it's like,
Yeah.
cool. That to me, like, I'm at the point now where it's like, you know, we don't even have any tags for this year. I mean, I'll get a cow tag, but it's like I'll go up there with my kids and we'll have the most fun just shooting a cow.
Oh, that's
And
cow hunts-
enjoying.
those hunts are great because there's like low stress, right? You're not
Very low
it's like,
stress.
I just got to find a cow elk.
Yeah, just that's it. And then if you know where you're looking, the stress for us is like, fuck, do we got to drag this thing?
Yeah.
How far
Can
off
I get the
road?
truck to it?
That's the number one question. Can we get the truck to? We'll find more.
Yeah.
We'll find more. And that's how it should be. You know, it's just having fun with it. And that's where the stage that I'm at in my hunting life is like, you know, I have some buddies and they're just like, dude, you don't have anything this year. I'm like, dude, well, I'll get some whitetail tags, you know, some doe tags up where you know, where we met, and I'll go out with my kids and we'll sit there and we'll skin that thing and we'll talk and, you know, and have the time of our life. Like that's like, it should be about that. Not once I realized like, fuck the hunting industry and all these companies and everything behind it, they don't care. And I was out there for years trying to produce and stay relevant.
Yeah.
I got to do this and I got to chase. It's got to be big. It's got to be true. I have more fun with my kids now chasing does than ever because there's no pressure. We can screw up. Oh, well, you make it happen, then you get all the time in the world. I mean, it can be over as quick as you want. You could drag it on. I'm teaching them things. Like my youngest now, she's like, every little thing is a learning lesson.
Right.
It's not like, shut the fuck up, we got a great tag.
Yeah.
You know, like, stay behind me, shoot, you know, you just follow. You know, like how we grew up with our dad. Like, you're just following. And so, you know, I want to change that with my kids, and I want them to learn everything along the way. So when it comes time and they draw a good tag, they have all the knowledge. We've gone through screwing up and not having a gun ready. It wasn't loaded. It wasn't zeroed. You know, the turret turned on us. Like, I want all of those scenarios to happen now while we're having fun shooting does and then putting meat in the freezer. And then when that time comes, the pressure, they've already felt it. You know, and then that way, okay, cool. We've gotten to this point. Let's have fun now.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Totally. I agree. I like it.
Yeah. So, well, cool, dude.
Yeah,
Appreciate you coming on. Thanks for the conversation.
Yeah, dude.
Learned a lot about the Air Force.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fascinating. We got to get some pilots on. Do you know any pilots that are here?
Yeah.
Send them.
Yeah.
I want to hear their version.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to them about what it's like to have a crew chief.
Yeah.
That's
I got
putting all their trust in a crew chief.
Yeah, especially one like me.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to ride the lightning.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I'm all about it. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.